Oh, thank you, Shanice. But we can go ahead and get started, and folks will probably be trickling in over the next few minutes. So hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and thanks to members of the council and members of the public for accommodating a last-minute shift to a virtual meeting because of the severe weather. We're really appreciative that FACE made that possible so that folks could be safe on their commutes home and not out in the flooding. It's now 6:30 p.m. and I will call the annual meeting of the Community Education Council 15 to order. My name is Katina Rogers. I'm a returning CEC 15 council member. Before we begin, would the interpreters kindly introduce themselves in their languages? We could start with Bangla, please.
Hi, this is আপনারা যারা বাংলাতে এই পুরো অনুষ্ঠানটা বাংলাদেশে শুনতে চান তারা দয়া করে এই নাম্বারটিতে ডায়াল করুন। নাম্বারটি হচ্ছে 347-966-4114। আমি আবার বলছি 347-966-4114। তারপর এই আইডি নাম্বারটি প্রেস করুন। আইডি নাম্বারটি হচ্ছে 415-472-123 এবং হ্যাশট্যাগ কিংবা নাম্বার সাইনটি চাপুন। আমি আবার বলছি, আপনারা যারা এই পুরো অনুষ্ঠানটি বাংলাতে শুনতে চান কিংবা এই মিটিংটি বাংলাতে শুনতে চান তারা এই নাম্বারটিতে ডায়াল করুন। নাম্বারটি হচ্ছে 347-966-4114 এবং এই আইডি নাম্বারটি চাপুন। আইডি নাম্বারটি হচ্ছে 415-472-123 নাম্বার সাইন চাপুন কিংবা হ্যাশট্যাগটি চাপুন। ধন্যবাদ। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Thank you so much. Could we have the Spanish interpreters introduce themselves in their languages, please?
Buenas noches, esta reunión tendrá interpretación al español. Para accesar la línea de español, solo debe marcar desde su teléfono al 347-966-4114, seguido del ID de reunión 516-784-893, tecla numeral. Una vez más, el teléfono es 347-966-4114. Cuando le solicite el número de identificación de la reunión, seleccione 516-784-893, tecla numeral. Estaremos colocando la información en el chat para referencia. End of Spanish announcement.
Thank you so much. And could we have the Mandarin announcement, please?
你好，非常欢迎我们大家来到我们今晚的会议，请拨打我们的电话热线347-966-4114，347-966-4114， ID 号码是343，输入 ID 号码347，不好意思说错了，734-806-507井号键，我密码是734-806-507井号键，这个我也会写在聊天中，谢谢大家。Announcement concluded.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you all very much for being here. Thank you to the interpreters for helping to make our meeting more accessible. And thanks for folks who have just joined. Thanks for accommodating the shift to a virtual meeting. This is very unusual for CEC meetings. We are required and mandated by the state to meet in person and to make sure that our meetings are public for reasons of accessibility. But one thing that I've been thinking about as we enter this new year is that accessibility can take lots of different forms. And I think tonight, for reasons of the severe weather, making the meeting more accessible actually means ensuring that everybody is somewhere where they can be safe and dry. So thanks to FACE for making that possible. And thank you to everybody for being here. We will, in just a moment, I'll say a little bit more about the CEC and about what to expect in tonight's meeting. First, we will start with a roll call just to see where we're at in terms of quorum, and then we'll proceed from there. So, council members, when I say your name, just indicate if you're present. Council member Angelica Cesario. I see you here, but maybe you're not able to unmute. I'll circle back to Angelica. Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Here.
Councilmember Angelica Cesario, I see you now.
Sorry, I'm here.
No worries, thank you. Councilmember Elton Dodson.
Here.
Great. Councilmember Ken Eby,
Here.
Councilmember Angelica Jadanandan,
Here.
Councilmember Katina Rogers, I'm here. Councilmember Kim Wanless,
Here.
Councilmember Chingsa Su, hi Chingsa, I see you here. And Councilmember Kara Zwirling-Moeller.
Here.
Great. Jingsa, when you have a moment, if you could just indicate either in the chat or through interpretation, or just by coming off of onto video or off of mute, just let us know that you're present at the meeting. That would be helpful. While we wait, hopefully Chingsa will be able to jump in momentarily, but this does mean that we've got all members here and we do have quorum, which is an amazing start to the year. I really appreciate everyone making the time and ensuring that this is a commitment that we can all uphold through the year. We recognize that being a member of the CEC is a significant time commitment. It takes significant time and energy. And that's not nothing, you know, we know that we're all parents, we all have a lot of commitments going on, and we're appreciative that folks have made the time, not just today, but throughout the year to make this a part of where we all are spending our energy. So thank you all. Since this is our first meeting of the year, I'll say a little bit about the CEC and a little bit about what to expect tonight. First of all, I just want to say that Jonathan Davis and I, we're the only two returning council members this year. So Jonathan and I are going to lead the meeting tonight as returning officers, but a big part of what we'll be doing tonight will be electing officers for the year ahead, setting up you know, our budget for the year ahead, making sure that the council can do the work that we are mandated to do. So it will be a more formulaic meeting than some, but this is how we can make sure that we're set up well for the upcoming year. So thank you all for coming to the first 2025-2026 District 15 CEC meeting tonight. Please do remember for members of the public to sign the attendance sheet, which I've dropped in the chat and will relink in a moment. So community education councils, for folks who may be new to these meetings, are state-mandated public bodies responsible for ensuring that public school parents and members of the public have input in educational decisions that are made at the district level. There are 32 CECs throughout the city, plus 4 citywide councils. Each CEC represents a community school district, and each is made up of 12 volunteer members, 10 of whom are elected by parents in the district, and the remaining 2 members are appointed by the Brooklyn Borough President. There are also seats for 2 high school senior members who are non-voting, but who have voice during all the comment periods. I would mention that our council right now only has 9 members. We currently do not have a District 75 member, nor do we have our Brooklyn Borough President appointees or our high school members. So we will be looking to try and fill those seats as well to make sure we have as many voices represented on our council as we are able to have. Our CEC, CEC 15, serves 38 elementary and middle schools, as well as 3 pre-K sites and 1 high school. Our council reviews education policies and advocates for high-quality education that benefits all of our District 15 public elementary and middle school students and high school students. We actively seek input and feedback from the public. For more information about the CEC, we invite you to visit our website, which is cecd15.org. So what to expect tonight? Tonight's meeting includes 3 parts: the annual meeting, where we will elect officers for the new term; the calendar meeting, where we'll hear just briefly about a little bit more about the council, and we'll hear from the superintendent; and a business meeting where we will vote to approve minutes, a draft budget, and a calendar for the year. It is fairly procedural. We have to call each of these meeting parts to order and adjourn each of these meeting parts and take attendance each time. So just bear with us as we get through all of these procedural matters. And we know that by doing this, we'll be able to start taking up more substantive topics at our August meeting. So tonight's meeting is virtual and will include a public comment period at the end of the calendar meeting portion. As far as rules of engagement, when you comment, please comment on the topic. Please respect the privacy of others, and please do not include the names of any children or staff in your questions or comments. Guests who make inappropriate comments will be removed from the meeting. During the public comment period, those attending virtually, which is all of us today, may raise their hand to comment or indicate in the chat that they would like to speak. Speakers will be called on one at a time and will be allowed 1 minute each for their comment. We will hear as many speakers as the time allows. If you have a question outside of this comment period, please signal it in the same way. And if time permits, we'll respond to these additional questions that arise at other times. But it's possible that not every question and comment will be given time, in which case we encourage you to write to us at cec15@schools.nyc.gov. And CEC members will also be given a comment period. Members will be called upon and are each permitted a 2-minute comment or question. So moving on to the main order of business for the annual meeting are the CEC 15 officer elections. The council's bylaws stipulate that officers be elected by roll call vote at the annual meeting. To be elected, a candidate must have at least 7 votes, and officers remain in their position until their successors have been elected. The first order of business is to elect a chair pro tem to chair the election meeting until the president has been elected. We will vote on other offices after that of president, and in each case, if no candidate receives at least 7 votes for a position, then we will vote on whether to do a second or a third round of voting. So I would like to nominate Jonathan Davis as chair pro tem. Are there any other nominations? Okay, so nominations for chair pro tem are now closed, and we will proceed to a roll call vote for chair pro tem.
Do I need to accept the nomination?
Oh yeah, yes you do. Sorry.
I'll accept the nomination.
Great. Thanks, Jonathan. Do we need to motion to vote? I guess we probably do.
Yep. You can just say all in favor.
We can just do like a collective vote.
Yeah,
Oh,
I move to vote on president pro tem
okay, and I second.
or chair pro tem.
Yeah. So we can just do, Anthony, we can just do an omnibus vote?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All those council members in favor of Jonathan Davis serving as chair pro tem, please either type yes into the chat or raise your hand where we can see it on the video. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That is unanimous. Jonathan, I will pass it to you.
Thank you. So to elect officers, we will vote upon each position before moving on to the next, so that any candidate not elected to an office can run for others. I will take nominations. Members can nominate themselves. If a member is nominated by another member, I will confirm that they accept the nomination. Each nominee will be allowed to make a speech of up to 2 minutes if they wish. If a member is not present but has submitted his or her or their nomination in writing to the AA or another member, they will be treated the same as any member who is present, including having a 2-minute statement read aloud by someone else. Following the candidate or candidates' presentations, we will conduct a roll call vote. All positions must be voted on, even if there is only one candidate. Where there are 2 or more candidates, each member must make a choice and vote for one or the other. Members may abstain from voting. If no candidate receives at least 7 votes, we will move on to the next position and return to undecided positions at the end. If a position remains unfilled over 2 or more rounds of voting, the incumbent will continue in the position. New elections for all unfilled positions will be put on the agenda of the following month's calendar meeting. Any questions?
Kim, I see your hand raised. Do you have a question, or was that from before?
Kim?
Oh, no, that's not a question I have.
Okay, that was a previous vote. Okay.
Yeah, I guess it automatically puts a hand up, sorry.
Awesome.
Yep.
No, all good. Thank you. So first, we will elect the council president. Are there any nominations? I nominate Katina Rogers.
And I accept that nomination. Thanks, Jonathan.
Are there any other nominations for the role of president? Okay, I'm going to close nominations. So Katina, would you like to make a statement?
Nothing formal, but I guess I would just like to say that I care a lot about the work that this council does, and I still see myself, I mean, I am relatively new to it. I've only served for a year. So if I'm elected to this position, I am not coming in with a strong and preset agenda. It matters a lot to me to hear from the folks who are part of the council, to hear from the community, and to do that work together collaboratively. I hope we can all rely on each other to step up when needs arise, and to make sure that that we're able to fill gaps where needed, and hear one another even when things get difficult. So I'd be very honored to serve, and I'm grateful for the nomination.
Great. Thank you, Katina. Anthony, just to clarify, do we need to make motions for a vote at this point, or do we just move straight to the vote?
You can move straight to the vote.
Okay, great. And this one, we should go one person, one council member at a time?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So council member Angelica Cesario,
I vote yes.
council member Jonathan Davis, yes. Council member Elton Dodson,
Yes.
council member Ken, is it Ebby or Eby?
It's Evie.
Evie, okay.
And I vote yes for Katina Rogers.
Great, thank you. I will not forget that. Council member Angelica Jadinandan,
Yes.
and did I pronounce that correctly?
Yep, you got it.
Okay. Councilmember Katina Rogers,
Yes, thanks.
Councilmember Kim Wanless,
Yes.
Councilmember Ching Zhu, for the Mandarin interpreters, were you able to ask Jing Xia if she's able to vote yes or no for Katina as president?
Hello, this is the Mandarin interpreter speaking. I don't hear anything on the phone line, so maybe I should just ask her on the Zoom.
Sure.
Okay. Yes,
你好，
please,
你
thanks.
好，女士，请问呢，你是不是支持投票？ Yes, yes, she says yes.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Kara Swirling Muller.
Yes.
Wonderful. Katina, congratulations. You have been elected president of CEC 15 for the term of 2025-2026. At this point, Anthony, do I continue to run it, or does it go to Katina?
Goes to Katina.
I continue. It goes to Katina now. Okay. Sorry, Katina.
No worries. Thanks everybody for the vote of confidence. I will certainly give it my all. Next, we will be electing the first vice president. I will accept any nominations from the room. And I would like to nominate Jonathan Davis.
I accept.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, nominations for first vice president are closed. Jonathan, would you like to make a statement?
Yeah, similar to you, Katina. Nothing super formal other than, I've been very privileged to serve one term, 2 years on the CEC 15, and I love our district. I'm deeply committed to our schools, our family, our students, really continuing the fight for equity across the district. And my 2 years of experience gives me some background knowledge and the workings of the CEC, but like Katina, I'm also still fairly new and really excited about moving forward with all of you and building off of the great work of the CEC 15 over the last decade and taking us in even more inclusive directions. And so I'm excited to be a member of this amazing group and support in any way that I can.
Thank you, Jonathan. All right, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Councilmember Angelica Cesario.
I vote yes.
Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Elton Dodson.
Yes.
Councilmember Ken Eby.
I vote yes for Jonathan Davis.
Thank you. Councilmember Angelica Jadanandan.
Yes.
Councilmember Katina Rogers, yes. Councilmember Kim Wanlis.
Yes.
I love your background, Kim. That looks so nice right now. Councilmember Ching Sa-ju.
Kim 江珠女士，请问您的投票是什么？你也是支持，对不对？
对，支持。
Yes, approve.
Thank you. And Councilmember Kara Zwirling-Moeller.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Congratulations, Jonathan. You've been elected to serve as first vice president for 2025-2026. Fantastic.
Thank you for the vote of confidence.
Excited to work together. Next, we will elect the second vice president. Are there any nominations for second vice president? I would like to nominate Elton Dodson.
That's very kind of you, Katina. Thank you. I accept that.
Are there any other nominations? And remember, you can nominate yourselves as well. Okay. Nominations are now closed. Elton, would you like to make a statement?
Thanks so much. Again, I appreciate the nomination. It has been such an honor to get to know all of you in my various roles as an activist inside the Department of Education. I'm here today because I have so much confidence in all of you and in the people that we work with in leadership in our district, to include our superintendent and all of his staff, who are incredibly wonderful people who have earned my trust. And as Raphael will tell you, he didn't get it automatically out of the gate. So I consider it just a rarefied privilege to be in the same room, so to speak, virtually today. And I look forward to continuing to work for our kids and for creating a safe environment for our children and our schools when the environment around our schools may be less safe. And now is the time more than ever for the CECs to recognize the unique place of power and influence that we have, and not be content to settle for what we are often told that we are, which is a silent advisory group. Now more than ever is the time for us to step up and demand accountability on the state and local levels, and protect our children from what's coming from DC. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Elton. All right, we'll proceed to a roll call vote again. So Councilmember Angelica Cesario.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Elton Dodson.
So weird to vote for yourself, but yes.
Yeah, agree. Councilmember Ken Eby.
I vote yes for Elton Dodson.
Thank you. Councilmember Angelica Jadanandan.
Yes.
Councilmember Katina Rogers, yes. Councilmember Kim Wanlist.
Yes.
Councilmember Ching Sa-shu.
你好，女士，请问您的投票是什么？
不好意思，我刚才没有听得很清楚。
他说的是您是不是投
票
票给 Alton Dalton 这个男士？请问呢，您投不投票给他吗？
给他？是
你说你不清楚，对吗？
投票。投票。
投票，OK，Yes，
Thank you. And Councilmember Kara Zwirling-Moeller.
Yes.
Thank you. Is it Moeller, the second half of your last name? Or...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We
Thank you.
we can just do Kara's whirling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, thanks. Congratulations, Elton. You've been elected to serve as second vice president for 2025-2026. Next, we will elect the recording secretary. Are there any nominations for recording secretary?
I nominate Kara Zwirling-Moeller.
And Kara, do you accept that nomination?
I accept.
Great, thank you. Would you like to make a statement? They're not required, but you're welcome to if you would like to.
I'll be honest, I don't really have a statement. I agree with everything that everyone else said, and I'm happy to help out by being the recording secretary.
We really appreciate the willingness. I know it's daunting to jump into these new roles and straight into a leadership position, but there's a lot that needs to get done. So thank you. The role of recording secretary is one that ensures that we have all information accurately transcribed from our meetings so that we know who has made a motion, who has voted yes or no on different elements, checking over the minutes to make sure that they're accurate before they get posted, and helping to facilitate some of the things that go on during the meeting itself. So we're appreciative of that role. We will go ahead to a roll call vote. So Councilmember Angelica Cesario.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Elton Dodson.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Ken Eby.
I vote yes for Kara Zwirling.
Thank you. Councilmember Angelica Jadanandan.
Yes.
Councilmember Katina Rogers, yes. Councilmember Kim Wanlist.
Yes.
Councilmember Ching Sa-shu.
Yes.
Great, thank you. And Councilmember Kara Zwirling.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Congratulations, Kara. You've been elected to serve as recording secretary for 2025-2026. We have 2 officers remaining, parliamentarian and treasurer. So next we will elect the parliamentarian. Are there any nominations for parliamentarian? I would like
I
to nominate Kim
myself.
Wanlist. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I nominate myself.
Perfect.
Kim Wanlist.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kim. Are there any other nominations for parliamentarian? Okay, nominations are now closed. Kim, would you like to make a statement?
No, once like Kara said, I'm new to this and very interested in continuing the work that the CEC have done over the years to spearhead initiatives for the city in alongside with the superintendent and his team to ensure the educational, emotional, and social safety of all students.
Thank you, Kim. And the parliamentarian role is really important for helping to keep meetings on track. Timekeeper is a really unsung role in meeting facilitation, but I feel really strongly that timekeeping is a feminist practice and that making sure that we hold people to the time that they have allotted to them ensures that there's enough time for others as well. So that role often feels like one that's very, rigid, but in fact, keeping those structures held is the way that we make sure that there's space available for other voices. So thank you for your willingness to do that, Kim. Okay, so we'll go to a roll call vote. Councilmember Angelica Cesario.
Yes.
This is a great way to just get everyone's names like really firmly in our brains too. Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Elton Dodson.
Yes.
Councilmember Ken Eby.
I vote yes for Kim Wanless.
Thank you. Councilmember Angelica Jadanandan.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Katina Rogers. Yes. Councilmember Kim Wanless.
Yes.
Councilmember Chingsa Shu.
Accepted, she stated.
Thank you. And Councilmember Kara Zwirling.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Congratulations, Kim. You've been elected to serve as parliamentarian for 2025, 2026. And finally, we will elect the treasurer. And I will say this is the one role that I haven't heard any expressions of interest from folks behind the scenes before the meeting. So I am really hoping that somebody will self-nominate right now. The floor is open. It's not a heavy lift. As someone who served as treasurer of the PTA and will never do it again, and treasurer of the CEC, it's fine. Shanice has things under control, and it's largely an oversight role as opposed to something that's super hands-on day to day.
Do you want to talk, Katina, just for a second about what the actual responsibilities are?
Yeah, and Shanice, you can jump in if there's things that I forget. But so at the beginning of each year, the CEC prepares a budget. We have $25,000 available to us to cover member reimbursements, food at meetings, and any of the programming and expenses that come up during the year. So Shanice, as the admin, is the one who has access to all of the district systems where all the procurement happens, all of the formal accounting happens. None of us have access to those systems, so you don't need to be worrying about like a DOE login into a complex portal. Shanice will track all of the money going out throughout the course of the year, and we'll tabulate that on an Excel sheet. Each month before the business meeting, you'll look that over and just cross-check the numbers, make sure that everything looks good. And then at the business meeting, you'll report to the council on how much money has been spent, how much money is remaining. If there are questions that arise, you as treasurer can be the one to help kind of facilitate those conversations about how money is being spent. Much like parliamentarian, I also believe really strongly that budgets are moral documents. And so even though as a council, we don't have a large budget available at our disposal, there can be really important decisions that we make together about how we use that money. And the treasurer has an important voice in that. What was the other thing I was going to say about that? I guess that's all. Shanice, am I forgetting anything? Oh, and you, as treasurer, you sign off on expense reimbursements. Yeah. So when members request reimbursements for childcare or transportation or internet, either the president or the treasurer signs off on those expense forms to make sure that, you know, we've got proper oversight and that everything's running smoothly. Would anyone be willing to self-nominate for this role? Yay, thank you, Angelica.
Wait,
Um,
Ken, is there competition here? Because I saw you unmute, like right after
It's like a game of
we win.
I'm glad it's in good hands. I will you'll hear my vote in a minute.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you both potentially for the willingness, and thank you, Angelica, for stepping up. I know, again, like it's hard to take on extra work when you know you're already taking on something new, but we really appreciate it. And Shanice and I and Jonathan are here to help with anything that, that causes any confusion, and we really don't want it to be a heavy lift. Angelica, would you like to make a statement about your this deeply desired position that you're now up for?
No, I'll do my best and learn as I go.
Amazing. Thank you so much. All right, so we'll proceed to a roll call vote, starting with Councilmember Angelica Cesario.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Yes.
Great. Councilmember Elton Dodson.
Yes, and thank you.
Great. Councilmember Ken Eby.
I vote yes for Angelica Jadunandan.
Councilmember Angelica Jadunandan.
Yes.
Great. Councilmember Katina Rogers. Yes. Councilmember Kim Wanlis.
Yes.
Councilmember Ching Sa Shu.
She supports this.
Thank you. And Councilmember Kara Zwirling.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Congratulations, Angelica. You've been elected to serve as treasurer for 2025-2026. Amazing. So that concludes the election of officers. We have every seat filled. I'm really excited about this team and about everyone's willingness to step up. So I will adjourn the annual meeting, now that the election of officers has been completed. This meeting is adjourned at 7:07 p.m.
Do we need to make motions for adjournment, Anthony? Just trying to stick with protocol if necessary.
Do all in favor?
Okay,
Great.
I move to adjourn.
All in favor, raise your hand or write yes in the chat. Great. 3, 4.
It's the former parliamentarian in me. I'm sorry.
We got it. All right, so now I'm adjourning this meeting at 7:08 p.m. Thank you, Jonathan. It's true, Robert's Rules of Order, we got to follow it. It's important. So after this meeting, we'll submit a list of newly elected officers to face, right, Anthony? Okay, great. And now, sorry?
I already put it in, you're fine.
Oh, amazing, thank you, perfect. All right, so now we move on to part 2, which is the calendar meeting. So I will call the calendar meeting to order at 7:08 p.m. Anthony, do we need to do another roll call for each part of the meeting? We do? Good grief.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will just be calling the roll. Indicate if you're present, please. Councilmember Angelica Cesario.
Present.
Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Present.
Councilmember Elton Dodson.
Present.
Councilmember Ken Eby.
Present.
Councilmember Angelica Jadunandan.
Here.
Councilmember Katina Rogers, present. Councilmember Kim Wanlis.
Present.
Councilmember Ching Sa Shu. Yeah, we see you. Councilmember Kara Zwirling.
Present.
Great, thank you all. Okay, I am sorry I'm talking so much at this meeting, good grief. So I'm gonna give just a brief CEC report. It's not even really a report, just a few thoughts as we're starting the year, and then I'll turn it over to Superintendent Alvarez. So I think that I speak for Jonathan and I both when I say what an honor it is to be starting this new year with so many fantastic new council members. we're really excited to work together. I think being able to spend time with you all at the training gave a really strong sense of camaraderie and collegiality. And as much as I'm glad that we're not out in the rain, I was really hoping to start this first meeting together by sharing a meal and seeing one another and chatting about summers and all of that stuff. So I'm sorry that we're not able to have that in-person connection today, but I trust that there will be many opportunities for it down the road. I will keep this very short and mostly just want to start the year with a lot of gratitude. I want to say thank you to Shanice Powell for seamlessly orchestrating our meetings and the council's administrative and financial work. Shanice has all of the institutional knowledge of this body and helps make sure that we are keeping everything moving. We're just really grateful for her ongoing work and commitment to the council. I want, thank you, Shanice. I want to be there to give you a big hug, but next time. I want to say thank you to outgoing President Antonia Ferraro Martinelli. I don't know that Antonia is on the call today, but Antonia has left a tremendous legacy of fighting for the District 15 community, and I'm really hoping to honor the work that's been done by her, by previous council members, by previous D15 presidents, as I step into this new leadership role and as we start this new council term together. I want to say thanks to Anthony Aguilar and the team at FACE for liaising with us, for supporting the council, for helping with all of the questions on the nitty-gritty when we are not quite sure what we need to do and what we need to have a motion for and when we can move forward. I want to say thank you to Superintendent Alvarez and Deputy Superintendent Lancelotti and the entire district team for your unflagging efforts to support the kids and the families in this district. Oops, Lancelotti, sorry. Thank you, Jonathan. A big thank you to the interpreters for your work, for being with us week after week in a way that opens up our meetings to more members of the community. I want to say thank you to the folks who are not necessarily on this call and who make this work possible, including the security officers, the custodians, the school administrators, the caterers, the tech support. It takes many, many people for these meetings to happen. And finally, a big thank you to all of the members of the public for being here, for taking the time and showing your interest to be a part of these conversations, and to the council members for volunteering your time, your energy, and your commitment to the community's kids. We know that everybody's time is a finite and precious resource, and we're grateful for it. CEC 15 has a strong history of supporting high-quality, equitable public education for all children in the district. We're coming from a difficult place, and in my opinion, District 15 has historically been one of the most segregated, racially segregated districts in the city, and the city is the most segregated school system in the country. And we know that our national school system does not have a great track record where that goes. So even given that starting point, I feel really proud to be a part of this district and the work that people have done to not just go with the status quo, but to continue to make things better. I know that this work is ongoing, especially in light of the attacks on education that are currently happening at the federal level. I'm really eager to undertake this work with you all, even though I anticipate we will have a lot of challenges ahead of us. And I'm looking forward to collaboratively setting priorities in the months ahead. The last thing that I want to express is that I hope that we can all show one another grace and patience as we find our footing. We're all a relatively new group of council members, which I think has some really exciting potential about it, and also will have some challenges for sure. We all have different stories of what brought us into this work, but having gotten to know everybody here, it's really clear to me that we share a commitment to doing right by all the kids and all the families in the district. As I was saying just a second ago, public schooling in this country and the city and this district has a long history as a vehicle of systemic racism and inequality. But I think really sincerely that it's also our best hope for collective liberation and justice and community. So I look forward to working towards that vision with you all. And that's all I have to say. So Superintendent Alvarez, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Katina. Congratulations to everyone who got elected to office and also all of the new CEC members. I got to meet a few of you last week. Normally, I would have a PowerPoint, it'd be a whole presentation. I'm just going to go through a few notes because we are in the summer. And then I'll have a few asks of you going forward as I have spoken to Katina and Jonathan about how we move forward as a CEC in this new CEC. So just so that everyone knows, Deirdre Keys, our former executive director of student services and operations, has retired July 1. She is like the main machine that holds the team together as well as holds Nicole and myself together. As a result of her retirement, we are in a process of a replacement. We're not going to replace her with an EDSO. We're going to replace her with a second deputy superintendent. That gives me the flexibility of utilizing her in a way that's more efficient for our district, such as school observations, but also troubleshooting many things at the school level or even at the district level when there are concerns from parents or community members. So just wanted to bring that up. Some good news. PS 131 is actually going to receive an after-school program. They were slated for fiscal year 2027. I was able to move a program from 676 that no longer exists because they will no longer have elementary school at the site. And so we were able to move the YMCA to 131. So they no longer have to wait for fiscal year 2027 for an after-school program. And I was able to secure that after-school program for us to continue to be slated for 2027 for another school. They're working on determining which school that will be. And once they do, I will share that information. The other thing we finally have our administrator of special education. She's considered the AZ. That's what they call her. But Jeanette Nadal, who comes to us from District 75 with the D75 experience in special education to support our parents in our community when there are concerns around IEPs and things like that. I'm switching her role a little bit. So her, and you all know Chandra Connor, who's on my team. She provides special ed instruction. We're now going to make both roles both instructional and compliance so that we have more people to provide support around special education in our district. So she just started with us this Monday? Yeah, this Monday actually. So we're happy to have her on the team. I will share that there will be a leadership change at PS 39 15K039. Principal Panag will be stepping down come August 25th. A new principal will be announced. I can't announce that person yet because things haven't been finalized, but that person has been working behind the scenes all summer to prepare the school for the beginning of the school year. This was in partnership with me and having conversations and knowing what the community wants and needs are. And so there's been a leadership change there. I'm excited about what's to come with that particular school. I wanted to also share that PS 896 in Sunset Park and PS 124 in Park Slope are going to be sharing an assistant principal next year. So it's not that they're losing the assistant principal they currently have, but they're going to be sharing an additional assistant principal part-time to provide for the extra support. At 124, there's a large number of students in temporary housing with special needs as well. And at 896, she has 2 sites that continue to grow, and she has 1 AP only. So this will allow for the flexibility of them to work collaboratively. It's the first time it's being done. I'm kind of piloting it for the city to see how 1 assistant principal who's full-time services 2 schools. So look forward to seeing what happens with that. I know that the CEC with Katina and Jonathan have already discussed working with Tamara Mayer from the Project Open Arms to see how we schedule something in September to discuss how we provide supports for our families and community to understand what their rights are and how to go about supporting themselves, but also one another as it relates to the conditions that we're facing from our federal government and beyond. So look forward to that. You all are hearing about the cell phone policies. We are way ahead of the game in District 15. I had already started working with a template with my team. And as a matter of fact, tomorrow, all of the cell phone policies are due to me as a district. They're not due until the first day of school. So what we have done is we had them create the cell phone policies, as many of them had one already that existed, in alignment to the new law. That does not mean that changes can't be made come September when schools meet with their SLTs. That just means we're going to comply with the law to ensure that every school has a policy come the first day of school. Primarily because it's the summer, many schools don't have time to meet with SLTs to have conversations. So they're going with what kind of already exists in their schools, just making the alignment to the policy itself. But come September, school communities can have conversations if they want to make adjustments to their policies as it relates to their individual schools. And we should have all of those completed by tomorrow afternoon and submitting to Central so that we have a record that every school has a cell phone policy. That's including our 2 early childhood centers. I know it sounds ridiculous to have one, but we need to have one because there are parents who do leave their children, their 3 and 4-year-olds, with the phone where they've known to push a button. Some of them have these I forget what they're called, but they're like these fairy things where they just push a button and they can reach their parent or the parent can reach them. So just wanted to talk about that. In addition to that, the state has provided a one-time allocation for the resources if they're going to go, for example, with Yonder pouches or some form of pouches or materials that they're going to need for their school. All the schools have received the funding for it and has been allocated. As a matter of fact, every school has been encouraged to spend that money by August 1st, which is tomorrow. Why? Because it'll take time for the vendors to be able to ship the materials to be at the school for the first day of school. Going on those same lines in terms of expectations for the first day of school, schools are already working in partnership with each other, but also with their teams around preparation for the beginning of the school year. I myself have scheduled 3 times for all staff members to hear a message from me. CEC members are welcome to participate. I normally do a welcome back, which is called a touch base, with every single teacher and every single staff member in the district. Schools are required to bring them to their auditorium or wherever their space is to hear from the superintendent directly on what the expectations are for the district as a whole. Preliminarily, I can report that in terms of K through 2, we made some of the most significant gains across the city as it relates to moving our student data for K through 2, which means we're helping our kids read a lot closer than some other districts. Primarily because I had been focusing, as you heard in the last CEC, around foundational skills, and we're going to continue to do that work. And so that's one of my priorities. Another priority is going to be the MTSS, which is the multi-tiered systems of support. And for those of you who are not aware of that, it's really where we're looking at individual students and identifying what their needs are socially, emotionally, academically, overall, fundamentally, what's going to help kids get to where they need to go. By removing some of the barriers that many may be facing. So I'm going to be looking closer, for example, at schedules. Let's say school A has a 3rd grade class where there happens to be 9 kids who are chronically late, right? So are we starting reading first period when we know that they're going to be missing reading if they're late? So looking at schedules more deeper to see how are we addressing students from where we know they are. Moving the period is not going to be the only answer. We have to come up with other things, such as a walking school bus or identifying what are some of the barriers that are preventing kids from getting to school on time. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about an MTSS approach. We're going to continue our New York City Reads initiative. We're going to continue the NYC Solves initiative with IM in our middle schools, and we're going to continue the work around equity. We continue our equity work with our Equity Youth Congress, as well as our regular Equity Congress that is going to go deeper into the work. Come September, you will hear a more detailed plan of my 5-year plan, which I had committed to the last CEC to be sharing with you all. So you will be getting a copy of that. And then behind the scenes, we're working on 3 things. Academically, guidebooks that support teachers in this work on how to move the work forward as it relates to not only the literacy curricula, but this year we're adding the math curricula as well. So there'll be 2 guides to help teachers directly link to what their needs are for their individual schools. And then this new thing that we've developed, we have provided you all with a strategic literacy plan in the past 2 years. We've gone a little bit deeper. For foundational skills, right now we have worked on phonological awareness, which are the sounds kids hear and make into words. Phonics, which is how they put the sounds together to make words. And then the fluency aspect, which is how they use that to actually be able to read fluently so that they can be able to understand and comprehend. We're going to get to the vocabulary and comprehension throughout this year, but we have developed already those three of the pillars of literacy to be able to provide to parents. What this does is explain to parents what kids are able to do based on their range of age of when they're expected to be able to do these things. And for each category, so for example, in phonemic awareness, there are several things like phoneme segmentation, a multitude of different things that they have to be able to do, phoneme isolation. We're going to give you that in the most basic terms as a parent to be able to understand what kids are being asked to do. And then we're giving several activities on there on what you can do and set yourself up for your child at home. And then there will be videos where you can actually review that can be translated in 180 languages to be able to hear what that looks like. So at home, you'll get an understanding of what they're expected to do in school. Because, you know, one of the things I hear a lot is, but that's not the way we did it. That's not how we did it. And I recognize that, right? Because I remember not doing it that way either as a child. So we want to make sure that parents are more exposed on understanding what's really happening in school. Instead of getting an assignment sent home, you're expected to help your children with the assignment and don't even know where to start because that's not how you learned it. And the first thing your kid is going to say to you is, but that's not how we do it. And so to try to avoid those barriers, but also create, my job is to create executive function for our parents, right? So that parents understand what the needs are for the students academically so that they can do that stuff at home with them instead of having them try to have to figure it out for themselves or have to pay Kuman or several other organizations to do what they can easily do by just assigning something and removing the barrier of language to that work. So those were the basic things that I kind of wanted to just touch on for now. What my ask is going forward, we have our district initiatives. I would love to see more CEC members involved in not only the district initiatives, but I would also like to hear from the CEC. And I talked to Katina about possibly giving me a list of things in advance so that I know to prepare for your CECs. Oftentimes, I was preparing for CEC based on what I thought I needed to present to you, but I don't want to do that going forward. If this is a true partnership, I want to know what it is you want to be aware of as a CEC that I can present to you so that I'm not presenting for 40 minutes or 20 minutes and then it turns to 40 minutes because the things I presented are not the things that you want to discuss. So I really want to kind of go at the angle of what is the CEC wanting to see and how do I support in those particular initiatives and side by side. Also this year, I would love to do some instructional walkthroughs with you all so that you could see what we're looking at and some of the things that we're working on so that you can get at least a behind the scenes look as to what we're doing in our schools versus just being told what we're doing. I think there's more power in you being able to see it for yourself and then ask your questions at a later time than to just be told what we're doing. Because I think that's where we start including you in those conversations. And if we're really thinking of being an MTSS focused district, that's one of the aspects that for me are missing. The student voice in what's impacting their ability to learn and the parent's voice on some of the things that might help. And so those are some of the things that I kind of want to bring up for the incoming CEC. And any questions?
Okay. So I know I'm no longer parliamentarian, but I'm for this meeting, I told Kim that I will sort of go through what the process is, and then Kim is going to take it over the next meeting and do a much better job than me. So let's go to, should we start with people in Zoom versus in person? I think Zoom makes sense tonight. No, not funny. Little Zoom humor. Okay, so is there anybody joining us from the public? So we'll do the public comment first, and then we will do CEC comments or questions after. So is there anybody joining us from the general public who has a comment or question for the superintendent?
And that includes folks on the interpretation lines as well.
Yes, and anybody on any of the interpretation. Thank you, Katina.
And I'm sorry, while that's going on, for city CEC members that didn't get my direct phone number, you can get that from Jonathan or Katina, or I know Kara was there as well. So you can get my number from them so that you have direct access to me. Just let me know who you are because I won't answer the phone. So I have to save your name so that I know who you are.
No
Thank you,
question from
Rafael.
no question from the Bangla line. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No questions from the Spanish line? Is that okay? And any questions or comments from the Mandarin line?
No, no questions from the Mandarin line.
Okay. So now we will move to CEC member questions or comments. I'm just going to go in order on my screen. Kim, do you have any questions or comments?
I do. So good evening. Thank you, Superintendent Alvarez, for your report. Many interesting points that you brought out. We're all happy to hear about the reading programs that are being successful. I would just wanted to run down what two of them you mentioned, and then maybe there was a third. I don't know if you said New York City Reads,
Yeah, we talked
New
about New York
City
City Reads, New York City Solves.
Solves.
We're focusing on the MTSS, which is a multi-tiered systems of support. And we're going to hone in on the K-2 foundational skills, which includes the foundations and their Hegedy work. We're specifically focusing on 3 of the 5 pillars of literacy first, which is the phonemic awareness, which is the first stage, phonics, the second stage, and then fluency, the third stage. We're going to leave vocabulary and comprehension for the development of that guide for next year. And so what it is there will be teacher guides to support them in that process of planning, of what the classroom expectations look like, of what instruction looks like, and what it could entail, of what the power standards are, so that they're honing in on those particular skills that the state is saying we need to focus on the most. But then also, there's going to be a guidebook for parents. So we currently have the strategic literacy plan that you should all have access to. If you don't, it is on the d15brooklyn.org site. And then we're adding a guidebook for mathematics and a Pillars of Literacy Foundational Skills playbook, if you will, for parents. That playbook is supposed to be able to support parents with the particular 3 areas of the pillars of literacy so that they have a better understanding of what those expectations are and can literally go to whatever section it is so that when they get their cadence data back that says, hey, Johnny is struggling in A, B, and C, you can actually flip to A, B, and C pages and be able to support your child directly at home in addition to this teacher as well having that access to.
Okay, so do you suggest that schools do workshops with parents, or is the district providing some kind of
So there's a mixture of the two, right? So Kim, right now, actually today, my math team and my ELA team have been meeting with Michelle Ortiz, who's the family leadership coordinator. She's gonna be doing hand-in-hand workshops with the parent coordinators to teach the parent coordinators how to use the guides, so that the parent coordinators can do workshops at the school level to use the guides. Our expectation in reviewing the effectiveness of our parent coordinators is to see that they're actually using the guides in schools and supporting parents so that this becomes not just a tool that's given, but a tool that's being utilized effectively, as opposed to just being given. Because what we find is that when we give things to our PCs, they do the best they can, but they pass it down to the parent. Sometimes the parent doesn't understand how to use it. And so our job is then as a district to support them on how to actually use the tool. And so we're going to be using the tool not only for the teacher's professional development, we're also going to be using the tool for the parent coordinator's professional development. And the way that we're going to work with the PCs will then be able to do that exact same professional development with the parents, with the partnership of our team at the district level. So you should be seeing some of our district team members working with either school level math coaches or math teachers or ELA coaches or teachers, but also with the assistant principals, the parent coordinators, as well as some district staff members being at some of the schools to do this PD over the year.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that. I do have one short question about open arms. If you
Yes.
can just explain what that is for those who don't know. And
Project Open Arms is something that was developed under Mayor Adams to support migrant families and communities in awareness and supports on knowing their rights and knowing what their needs are and providing support to the migrant families within our city, since we have such a large number of them. Tamara Mayer is leading that work at central office, and she's agreed to coordinate, as Jonathan and Katina had asked, if they can do some more workshops around not only knowing your rights, but what to do, who to call, who can I reach out to if I need support as a parent, or even as a student, as it relates to their status, but also as it relates to their being as a New York City citizen and what resources are available to them. And so thanks to Jonathan and Katina, we're going to be working with Tamara in doing something as early as September, which might be on one of my town hall days that I have, or it could be part of the CEC or in partnership CEC with our town hall collectively.
Okay, great. All right, thank you so much.
Great. I'm just gonna go next since I'm next on my screen. Just one quick question asked. First of all, Raphael, thank you for everything. It's amazing to work with you and to have such a engaged, equity-minded superintendent that truly listens and hears us. So thank you. And I love your ideas about, which we've talked about, us getting you our thoughts before meetings so we can kind of tailor what we're doing. And I put in the chat, on the flip side, I know it may be asking too much, but would it be possible to get your slide deck a day in advance so that we all can look over the slides and prepare questions before the meeting? Because I think that it can be hard sometimes in the midst of the meeting to really process everything.
Yeah, I can definitely try to do that. Sometimes what happens is I make last minute changes to it. So what we can do is we can still send it to you. If there's a last minute change, we'll let you know what slide has changed. Because it might be data. Sometimes I wait to get the last piece of data so that you have the most up-to-date information. But if we don't have that, I can just mention that this is last week's data and that we're working on next. I can work on trying to get it to you a day before.
Awesome. That'd be amazing. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next on my screen is Kara.
Yeah, thank you so much. I did have one quick question that piggybacks on that. Asking us, like, when do you actually need to know from us what our questions are? What's the turnaround time there?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll work with Katina and Jonathan to think about what would make more sense, and then she can send something out to you all, and then I can make sure that I'm paying attention to that. Because sometimes you might ask something a day or two before, and that's okay. Those are questions you can throw at me when you get your opportunity to ask. But if I can prepare for it, you don't have to wait for the next meeting for me to get you the information. Although Katina could tell you, when you guys ask me for things on the spot and I don't have the answer, I'm going to tell you I don't have the answer right now. I'll get back to you. And usually we get back to you within 2 to 3 days max, with the information that has been asked for or requested.
Perfect, thank you.
If it's okay for me to just jump in on that as well. Kara, one thing that we were thinking about is, like, do we want to have kind of focal points each month that we're asking Superintendent Alvarez to speak about, instead of reporting on all of the numbers all of the time. One month, do we want to focus on, this particular lens, and the next month on another? So that's something that I think we can talk through together, is like, how do we want to focus our energies so that we're doing maybe slightly deeper dives on narrower topics, as opposed to hearing the broad, but sometimes it's a lot to absorb all the numbers.
I give a lot of information, Kara, probably more than most superintendents do. I'm probably one of few superintendents that does a PowerPoint. I think is important just to memorialize the information for you all. And there's some information that I share with you, and Anthony's here, he can close his ears, that I'm not supposed to share with you. But I do anyway out of transparency. And until I get told you weren't supposed to do that, I still do it.
So Anthony, don't say that. Okay. So next is Katina. Katina, do you have any questions or comments?
No questions. I think the only comment I would make, which I know you're already aware of, Superintendent, is just all of the vulnerabilities that we've seen come into such sharp relief over the last few months. I mean, they're not new, but it's been really intense for a lot of families. And I think as we're coming into this new school year, I would just encourage everybody at the district office to keep those front of mind, because we know that the attacks are going to continue against many of the same student groups. And so rather than be caught in a reactive position, I think thinking ahead of time about how we're going to protect trans kids, how we're going to protect migrant families, how we're going to protect, the parents who are walking to pick up their kids at the end of the school day who may not have documentation is something that is really present in my mind.
Yeah, thank you for that, Katina. We are thinking about that. The DOE has actually been thinking proactively. We just met this week to discuss how do we report things when things come up immediately to us, even if it's telephone line, right? From this person to this person, that person, to just share the information and thinking about where can we get more solidified information, but doing it as quickly as possible. And so my team has already been made aware yesterday. If there's any information that we get, whether it's true or not, we're going to look into it deeper. And it doesn't matter what time of the day. So like there's a tendency for people to hold things and say, oh, we can talk about this tomorrow. No, we can't talk about it tomorrow because we don't know what the impact's going to have between now and tomorrow. And so to your point, having three and a half more years of the current leadership that we have, knowing that District 15 has been at the forefront of the equity work, and that as a city, depending on what happens to our mayoral election, District 15 can easily be a target for this administration to look deeper into. I'm very well aware of that. We've been doing a lot of this work with our school leaders in terms of what do we do when these things happen and how do we I'm not and you know this, Katina, while I can be reactive at a meeting, I'm not reactive when it comes to a public response. And the reason why is because oftentimes people want you to make a quick public response. And I think that's sometimes the worst thing. Sometimes it can be a good thing, but usually it's the worst thing to do when you're a school district, because then they use that as the next level of keeping the tit for tat and going back and forth. To me, I like to do a message that's within a certain time frame. I think it steadies and slows the course of the back and forth, which creates this tension that allows for, especially in this federal administration, to be able to go back and forth and target even more. And so sometimes saying less is not that we're not protecting. Saying less is we are protecting, because the more I say, the more back and forth we're going to have, and then it becomes a challenge. And my job is to protect the community in the school district. And so from my level, that's what I'll continue to do. But I do have that in the forefront of my mind. And absolutely, it's every day. It's bothering me more now. We're seeing a lot more things happening over the summer. That's concerning. So we know that our parents are going to have a lot of angst in the beginning of the school year. I'm going to be sharing some of that with my touch points with the school community. And perhaps that's one of the angles I take at the beginning of the year, CEC and first town hall that we have in September, that angles around what do we do for our community and letting our community know that we're here on all these fronts. I just want to be careful with that, because starting with that, if somebody gets that message that I'm sharing publicly, then it becomes the next social media frenzy that creates a tension between someone who doesn't even know what we're doing, but using it as a political pressure point, so to speak.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And we'll keep pushing. And I know that you've got a public line that you've got to maintain too. And I appreciate that push and
We
pull.
keep pushing it. It helps push the line a little further.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you. Elton.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Superintendent. Just real brief, where are we right now on the mayor's After School for All program? How is that being plugged into district leadership? And what are those funding streams going to look like for our school leadership?
Yeah, so I think that's an initiative that goes over the years, just like civics for all and algebra for all and some of the all for all things that every mayor has brought in from their administrations. That's why I reported that 131. We also have 230 who has a program that's going to be starting as well. They're going to be having the Italian Heritage, forget what the name of it, and that's going to be a free program. We're working towards getting more of those. Our district is slated. Each year they're adding new schools to be slated. And so I know in 2026, it was PS 230. They're probably going to be getting it a little sooner. In 2027 it was 131, but now that I gave 131 YMCA, we'll be able to get another school one in 2027. That school right now, I was thinking of the 958 and the 456 because they have a larger number of, but because they don't have K-5 programs, they're going to be slated later on. So we're working on some of the other schools, and the way they do it is through ENI. So they're looking at the economically disadvantaged index first, to address the inequities for children from communities that come from that have less opportunity for childcare. And so that's how I think the city's been moving in that particular direction. I know because they look at ENI index. And so I've been listing 4 or 5 of my schools in a chronological order. And I've been fortunate that they've been giving them to my schools as they come aboard. Also recognizing that New York City has become very expensive and that even our more affluent parents are having difficulty with childcare. That's something else I've been taking into consideration. I've been pushing DYCD to recognize that, that just because we don't meet the poverty index doesn't mean that we're not in that poverty stage with all the additional expenses that lower middle class might have that is impacting their ability to stay in the middle class and really fall under economically disadvantaged because they're spending all the extra dollars that they may have on childcare and other things that if otherwise they would be able to have access to.
Thank you. So the programs you mentioned in your remarks were all no-cost programs.
That's correct.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah, those are
and then with the piloting you're doing with a shared AP,
Mhm.
is this the first time that you've done this, or that I've seen it before?
So
and
you
then
may have seen it where assistant principals are F status. So for example, if I retired or I don't want to work full time, but I have an administrative license, I can work for a school part-time 3 days a week or 2 days a week. What we're proposing here is a full-time assistant principal that's shared by 2 schools. So this is the first time that they're doing this. I got the agreements from CSA, which is the Council of School Administrators and Supervisors and Administrators. I also got the agreement from the staff member who's going to be selected for the 2 schools to share, and I got the agreement between the principals. And why is that? So the nuance behind this is the agreement had to be that it's placed on one school's budget, and the other school shares their funding to pay for the other 2 days, just like you would in an F status, right? The difference is this is not an F status person, this is a full-time person, so they'll get their full medical benefits to school, the full years of service, and they will have that tenureship once they complete the 5 years as a tenure, regardless of whichever school they were working at. The difference here is that let's say 2 years down the line, one of the schools has a huge drop in enrollment and can't afford the AP. The other school has to take the full cost of the AP. Both schools can fully pay for the AP, but I've cautioned in doing that because I'm more about what do we give our students than what do we give the school in terms of administration. And while I recognize there's a hand in hand with their needs to be administration, I still can't have a school utilizing every single penny to pay for a second AP and not have the additional resources that we need in classrooms for students. So my argument to the 2 leaders is I don't want you to use your last penny where every year there's going to be raises and then you're always using your last penny. And what happens next year when your enrollment drops by even 15 students or 10 students? That's a significant change for some people financially. And what for 124, that's a revolving door because of the temporary housing status of many of the kids at that school, that can impact the school holistically. And so I'm conservatively cautious financially when it comes to those moves. So I've made an agreement with the 2 leaders who both agreed to be able to do this because this will at least work and give them what they need while also not spending all the money they have in their pockets and using the additional resources for the kids at the school that might need more.
Am I allowed to make a comment?
Yeah. I mean, you're the new parliamentarian, so
I can
you
break
make the rules, Cam.
No, it's something that's commonly done in terms of sharing staff so that they have the full-time status in campus buildings where the staff are in the same building, but this is
Two
kind
separate
of
buildings. Yeah.
to share them in different locations when they have the same, you know, needs, and that person can spearhead and guide the needs of both buildings. So kudos to you, Superintendent.
Thank you. Angelica Cesario?
Hi, thank you, Superintendent. I appreciate your transparency because I think that is really valuable always. So thank you so much for sharing more. I think that's always welcome. Actually, I have two questions for you. One is a follow-up on the assistant principal question. So thank you, Elton and Kim, for raising those questions. You answered some of them already. Follow-up question I had is sort of how will, I know you mentioned you'll be kind of piloting it and seeing how that goes. How is success defined for that, and how will you be kind of measuring and following up on how that's going?
So one, the school leaders are going to measure success and define it from the individual schools thing. So that they have already been told to evaluate collectively what the impact is having on both schools. Remember, each school already has an assistant principal. So the work would be continued. So some of the things I'm going to be looking at for myself to see whether or not this has been impactful and still making an impact on student outcomes. I'm going to be looking at assessment results. Right? If you are instructional leader and you're providing instructional supports, and now you're an additional person to each site, presumably, if you're that strong instructionally, I should see movement instructionally for students, right? So that's one way I'm going to measure. The second way I'm going to measure is through observations. This person's actually doing observations. What impact are they having with closing the gap for teachers as it relates to the observations they're providing back to teachers? And what impact is that observation having on the teachers that they're servicing? That's the second thing. Then the third thing I'm going to be looking at is all of their compliance things. Oftentimes, assistant principals are used to also provide support with closing the gap on compliance issues. I'm going to be looking at has this person helped close the compliance gap at each school, because we measure on a month-to-month basis how schools are doing with compliance. So I will compare last year's compliance to this year's compliance and seeing if they've closed the gap as a result of having an additional support staff member that's an administrator. Then the last piece I'm going to be looking for is ORS incidences. So those are those online occurrence reporting system that we use to document when kids have, whether it's a bullying situation, whether it's an argument, all these little things that happen during recess time. Is this person effectively being used during lunch recess time to support supervision during recess time and throughout the school to reduce the number of incidents that occur? So there's multiple ways that I'm going to document for myself as a superintendent as to whether or not this has been helpful. But I put the ownership on the school leaders, and we'll evaluate what's called their ABC goals, which is something that they have to complete at the beginning of the year in alignment to the CEP, and their through way of how they're actually meeting those goals at the end of the year. So those are some of the ways that I'm going to be measuring whether or not this was successful or not.
Thank you for that detail. That's really helpful. Similar question I had around staffing was, you mentioned a new principal at PS 39.
Yes.
So I'm curious, just if you can, I understand you can't, say who the individual is yet, but I wonder if you can just provide a little bit more background, and in particular, what is the process to just ensure that that person is set up for success? What does onboarding look like? Will parents be involved in that process?
So let me go back by, yes, the parents will eventually be involved in that process. And I say eventually because the parents play a advisory role as it relates to selecting their particular leader. They don't necessarily get to select their leader. They get to play an advisory role that helps me select the leader, right? So that's called the C30 process. The principal that I'm putting in place will be interim acting, and they will go through the C30 process like anybody else does, where they're matched to other candidates. And then we have that level 1 committee that includes members of the SLT, which includes parents, and then the level 2 that will come to me. I can tell you that as a superintendent in 2 different districts, there have been 2 or 3 times where I did not go with the candidate I put in as an IA. So I take that C30 process very seriously. I let the candidates always know, don't make the assumption that because I have you as the IA that you're going to get the position. You better apply for the position and work your way through the position as though you want the position, because it's not guaranteed. And certainly 3 principals have seen that it's not guaranteed. The second aspect of that is the person is already working behind the scenes since the end of May in preparation for the school. So I'll give examples. They've already been changing the colors and the coding of the school and the furniture. They've already been looking at the scheduling. They've already been working with the current assistant principal that exists, as well as the secretary of the school in preparation for the school year. So this person is not on officially because they're currently an assistant principal at a school, but they're off for the summer. They've been utilizing their time in the summer to get themselves ready for August 25th. So when they come in August 25th, everything that's being done is because they, along with the current principal, which is Sarah Panag, have been working in partnership all summer, including this week. I was just on a call with them this morning, solidifying some things. So that's how we're going to make sure the success occurs. The community has been informed as of last Monday. They have been informed, as well as the staff has been informed that Sarah Panag will not be returning. Sarah sent them an email to let them know, which I reviewed and approved to go out. The new principal is aware of all of this and working behind the scenes, including the new hiring of staff members, which is what I also forgot to mention earlier. So in terms of that, we are really good at staffing right now. Our principals have been doing a stellar job at making sure that all their schools are going to be staffed by September. So I'm confident that we're going to be in a really good place compared to other districts. I've been monitoring those numbers and we've been doing pretty well. As a matter of fact, there were some principals who are on vacation but decided to switch their vacation days to do the interviewing, and they had remote days, but they'd rather come in because there's something about interviewing somebody in person than virtually for them. And so, but a lot of our principals have been filling their particular vacancy. So I hope that answered all of the questions that are connected to what you were asking.
It does. Thank you.
Great,
Can I chime in
thank
for 1
you.
second and say that
Yeah.
I've been through the C30 process more than once with Superintendent Alvarez, and it would be a fair characterization to say that a superintendent could just completely disregard the level 1 fully within their abilities. He has never done that. He does what he does here at CEC meetings. He listens. He's very responsive to the decisions and the evaluations made by the people that serve on those committees. So,
Yeah. Thank you for that,
yeah.
Elton. Angelica, let me just give you for context and for all of you so that you're aware of, because some of you are probably wondering like what happened. Sarah Panag, by all intents and purposes, is a tenured principal. To remove a tenured principal takes years because there's what's called the 30/20A process, which I have to then prove incompetence. It's very difficult to prove incompetence. You might prove lazy, you might prove quite a few things, but incompetence is very difficult to prove. So it was in my conversations and negotiations with her, but also the community, because I also do try to listen to the community, and this is a community effort, a community and staff effort. And so I worked within both communities, staff, principal, as well as parents in figuring out what was best for the school community. And that's where we arrived to. That's why the move has been made suddenly. So just a little bit of the context of why, but I think I found the right leader. I think I've actually found, I'm not going to say perfect match because every time I do that, I'll jinx myself. So I will say the best match possible, I think we've made. And once that person is announced, you'll know why, for those of you who live in the community and understand the community well.
Great, thank you. Xingxia, do you have any questions or comments for the superintendent?
Los altas
Okay, as of right now, I don't have any questions. I'm still in the process of absorbing all the information.
And Shingsha, if ever you need, even after the meetings, because you might need time to process, feel free to document that. When you have shared it with Jonathan and Katina, I will follow up. So like I recently did that with the summer school stuff, and hopefully that has subdued mostly. I know that there were some kinks, and they usually are, especially for the ESY program. But once I'm informed, I will guarantee that we'll work on resolving the issues if we can. So if you always feel that there's a lot of information here in terms of translation and processing, feel free to always respond later. I will make sure that I respond to your questions at any time you provide as a CEC member.
Okay, great, thank you. Ken, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes. Good evening, Superintendent Alvarez, and thank you for your leadership. We met briefly a little over a year ago. I'm a parent at PS 261, and there was a lot going on, and we were just very happy and very grateful for your leadership throughout that challenging time. And we continue, all of us, as has been said very well by our CEC president, to be in challenging times for our communities, and we want to make sure that we're doing the very best that we can to advocate. You'd mentioned in your remarks that you are bringing on an additional staff member to support special education in District 15.
Not an additional. She's replacing Alan Biebergal, who was our administrator of special ed, AZ, for the District 15. It has taken 7 months to bring somebody on board. This person does come from the D75 world, so has more extensive experience in special education. So we're excited about that. Yeah, that's
okay. Okay, so I just wanted to raise the question for me as to what are you seeing and what are you concerned about with respect to any federal funding implications on special education and how that might impact the district and the students in our district.
I'm not seeing any, but what I am seeing is an exorbitant amount of need for paraprofessionals, whether it be behavioral, toileting, or health. And so what I'm trying to do, because we're going to bankrupt the system doing so, especially identifying where we can minimize a need because we're still meeting the need at the standard that we expect as a district, but still addressing it. So an example of that, let's say there are 3 health paras in one class. Depending on the health situation, you might just need one that can support 3 students as opposed to 3 full-time health paras who are sitting there just watching or bringing a kid to the nurse. So that's something that we're kind of looking at. The possibility where there might be have been a behavioral issue in kindergarten, but now that the kid's in 2nd grade, that behavior has subsided. So rather than taking away the full-time para, reducing it to part-time, where they can where one para can share 2 students in a classroom. So we're looking at some of those particular aspects to provide support in ensuring that we don't hurt the system as a whole as it relates to our students. We're also pushing our schools to complete IEPs that might be due in June as early as April, because nothing says you can't do it before. It just says you can't do it after the 12 months and a day, right? And the reason why we do that is because financially, the way the DOE works is you will get the service, but then the cost falls on the school for the remainder of that school year if it's not done by a certain date. And so we've been working on getting our schools to be able to do these things so that they're not penalized at the beginning of the year. We've been working really hard. When I came on board, we had a reconciliation issue with paraprofessionals where people weren't getting the funding as early as possible. I've helped rectify a lot of that. It still exists, but I've helped rectify a lot of that, in that it's not happening anymore because we're doing the reconciliation right before the budgets come out, which is what happens. And so what happens is schools get assigned special ed paras based on the numbers they had from a date that's selected on the DOE's calendar, which schools know about. And sometimes they wait. But then what happens is September comes and they have para A who's at the school who the school is not going to get paid for para A because Johnny no longer goes to the school. But the school doesn't want to get rid of their para. So what they say is, no, we're going to hold on to the para because we know we're going to have another kid with a special ed need. So we're going to hold the para. Who's paying for that? Because that para is supposed, the money for that para is supposed to go with the student. It doesn't stay with the school because that para is only there because of the student. So some nuances that, Kenneth, it would be great. I don't want to take the time up here, but it would be great to go deeper into detail so that you have more context if you would like. And anybody else who would like context at a separate time, I'm more than happy to meet with you all to discuss that context of what ends up happening. Schools have been held harmless. They've been held harmless for years. They get all of 100% of their fair student funding. When I was a principal, I only got 80% of my fair student funding. So this whole notion that goes around, and this I'm adamant about because while I don't always agree with everything that we do as a system, and I can be honest with that, what I will say is that at least in this administration, and this is me being as unbiased as possible, there haven't been times like I know that when I first got here, we talked about how we didn't have enough funding for kids and that schools got cut funding. They weren't necessarily cut funding. Funding sources are designed based on the number of students. So that's what happened. So some schools were under projected, then they had to get money back later on. Some schools were over projected and then they got money pulled away from them because it's based, they get budgets based on register projections. Each student is a dollar sign. And you know how when you go to an open table restaurant, you have $1 sign where the food is cheap, $2 signs where it's moderate, $3 signs where it's expensive, and $4 sign you only go once a year because that's just too much money, right? So that's how each student is, to be honest, and it's based on their classification and what weight they bring. If they're an L student with an IEP, that's more funding. If they're full-time ICT versus part-time special ed, less funding. And so that's how the dynamics of schools are. Last year, you should have all received a template that showed what the average student funding per student was at each individual school. If you didn't get that last year, let me know. I'll make sure that that's provided yet again, because that's been given every single year so that it's a little bit more transparency that the DOE is showing. Now, when you want to talk about equity, there has been equity in that. Schools and schools like 321 in my district receive maybe approximately $15,000 to $16,000 per student on average. Schools like PS 15 in my district in Red Hook receives on average about $40,000 per student. And that's based on the number of weights they have: economically disadvantaged, special ed students, L student, different factors that play into how each student is allocated. And then it gives you an average of how much it is per each kid. So certainly a non-Title I school oftentimes get less money per student capita. It's how they're used. And unfortunately, we do need, and this is where I would agree with Elton and others about this, the funding formula is antiquated to what the needs are post-COVID. And so we need to put a lot of pressure on the state to change the funding formulas for how they allocate funding to New York City public schools, because that will be the game changer for our system. We're working within the confines of the budgets that we have based on the formulas that exist. And I don't know if you've heard, but Chancellor Aviles Ramos and Chancellor Banks and Chancellor Carranza all have fought diligently to try to get the city to receive the funding that it rightfully deserves. So when we talk about budget cuts, it's not budget cuts because the schools are getting what they're supposed to get allocated. It's that the formulas that are being used are antiquated. So regardless if they're doing it correctly, it's still not enough, right? With the increase of teacher salary, para salary, administrator salary, cost of materials, tariffs that are going on now, and an increase on what materials cost, that's what's hurting us. We're using a funding formula that was prior to COVID, which was a lot easier to manage than it is now. So I hope that answers that, Kenneth.
Very helpful. I'd love to dive in deeper. at a
And
later-
Katina, I promise my answers would be more brief. I think the reason why I'm doing it this time is this is the first time I'm meeting some of the CEC members in person. So I want to be able to show them that I'm willing to have those deeper conversations as necessary. So, but I will have some more brevity, I promise.
You saw me looking at my agenda timeline, didn't you? Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you. So I think the last CEC member is Angelica Jadnandan.
Yes. I'm a parent at PS 39. So I was listening and trying to use clues to figure out who might be. But I know that our school was, I'm also on the PA there. We're planning to hire new third, fourth, and fifth grade teachers. Do you know who's doing the hiring then?
The new, pretty much, some of the hiring was already done prior, but the new principal has been doing the hiring behind the scenes with Claudia, who's the assistant principal. So that's happening. She's involved in all the decisions. I just gave you a clue by saying she, and I've been very good at being non-binary, and now I end up becoming
Oh, I wrote that down already. I've been trying to figure.
she is very diligent and has been doing behind the scenes everything. You're going to see a whole new environment there even as well. And you'll see what I'm talking about when you actually see it. I'm confident, 100%. I'm now going to say, Katina, I'm 100% confident that you guys are going to be happy with what you have.
Okay. Great. I think they're asking for like parent volunteers to paint and stuff, so I'm gonna be,
Good, awesome. Listen, as soon as I can humanly announce her, I will. I'll say this. The rumors that people are putting out there may have some merit.
Okay. Thank you. Then just a comment about what we were speaking earlier when it comes to making statements to defend our trans students, our marginalized students. We first met, and it's okay if you don't remember, because there was a lot of people at this meeting at one of like the
676?
I don't remember. It was one of the last couple of meetings.
Yes, a darker
of the
auditorium
year.
blue, dark
Yeah.
blue. Yes, that's 676. I remember you.
So I really appreciate the conversation that
From
we
Florida,
had
correct?
there. Yes, from Florida.
Yep, I remember.
They-
And why you moved to New York City. Yes,
Yeah.
I 100%
And then I
remember.
ran for CEC and I got it. So
You're welcome.
so I just want to say, when it comes to, and a lot of people that voted for me were from our connections with parents of gender expansive kids. So I just want to make that statement that we're already targets. So we're not really scared of being targeted some more. I think we're looking for very definitive statements from our leadership, because the opposing side calls us out so much. So I just wanted to kind of.
I'll definitely take that into consideration, Angelica. As I shared with you before, and I'll share here publicly, I still work under the direction of the chancellor and the mayor, and so my comments and statements, while they are mine and mine alone, I also have to be very careful at how I put out the statement. And when I'm working with legal counsel and what statements I put, I have to be honest with you, it's a back and forth fighting struggle to even put some of the things that I do put out. But I will say that I come as close as possible to putting what statements need to be put. And so what Central doesn't have a control of me on is when I actually speak off the cuff on a CEC, which I also have to be careful with, but I have done it. And I hope that what I have shared with you on that day is clear and definitive that I support our transgender students and our community.
100%. And I really appreciated that conversation that we had. Just being a new year, just wanted to refresh.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's coming. It's coming, and I'm ready.
Well, it's that we know it's coming too,
absolutely.
Katina had mentioned the signs are all there. We have a fight ahead of us, and we're all on the same page. So
yeah, and I think the fight's going to be brought to us a lot sooner once the election happens.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much.
But at that point, well, if there's a leadership change, I'm assuming that that mayor is going to want to have that fight as well.
Yeah.
And if that mayor wants to have that fight, then guess what? That allows me to have the fight as well.
Right. Amazing. Thanks.
Great. I think that is it. Raphael, thank you for everything as always.
I'll stick around for you all. Normally I would leave after the meeting, and Katina, whenever you need me to stay, or Nicole or any of us to stay, just let us know. Normally we would leave because it's your meeting, so we're coming to your meeting. But if you need me to stay at any given meetings as necessary, please just let me know. We will be glad to stay. I'll stick around. I'm just going to turn my camera off, but I definitely will stick around in case you need me for anything else.
Thank you. Really appreciate that, Raphael. Great. So I think then
Can
that
I
I will,
move to adjourn?
yes, and I will second. So we will adjourn the meeting at 8:14. You all, we are so on time.
I think we're doing great. I think we need to vote though.
We
I think we
do?
need to say all in favor of adjourning, right?
No. Do we vote to
Yeah,
adjourn?
Anthony's saying yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do?
Yeah,
We've
that's
done
what Robert and his rules.
Oh, come on.
Yes.
Okay.
Vote to
Thanks.
adjourn, because somebody might want to say something for.
Go ahead.
Kim, you want to say something?
No, I said we vote to
Oh.
adjourn because someone
Yeah.
may have a last comment, and yeah.
Got it. Sorry, I keep too relentlessly moving things on, but it looks like now we're good to adjourn, right? All right. So now I'll adjourn the meeting, the calendar meeting at 8:15. And alongside that, we'll call the business meeting to order at 8:15. I do want to acknowledge that these meetings are long, and sometimes Zoom feels longer than in person. It can just feel really stifling to stare at a screen for the whole time. So please feel free to stand up and stretch. Turn your camera off for a minute if you need to get some water or whatever. We would do that if we were in the room together. So feel free to do the same on the Zoom meeting. So it's 8:15. I'll call the business meeting to order. And I guess we will do another roll call. Yeah, I know my kids are the same way. And I just on that note, obviously this meeting is a little bit of a slog because of the three-part nature and all of the things we need to get through. I do really want to find a way for these meetings to feel a bit more contained. It's a lot of time, and I know that and feel it too. So we'll see what we can do together. All right, so roll call for this part of the meeting. Council member Angelica Cesario.
Present.
Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Present.
Councilmember Elton Dodson.
Present.
Councilmember Ken Eby.
Present.
Councilmember Angelica Jadonandan.
Present.
Councilmember Katina Rogers, present. Councilmember Kim Wanless.
Present.
Councilmember Ching Sao Shu. You can just wave, it's fine. I see you. Thank you. And Councilmember Kara Zwerling.
Present.
Thank you. Okay, so we have in the business parts of our meetings, this is where we do the things that are more of an internal nature to the council, things like the approval of minutes, financial matters. Sometimes we will talk through more substantive things and go through resolutions at the business meetings, but the main idea is that these are the times when we're working through the stuff that's of less interest to the public. Sorry, I was just looking at the chat. Okay, so the first thing that we have for today's business meeting is approval of minutes. Shanice has been working so hard to get through a backlog of meeting minutes from our previous council session. So we have several sets of minutes to approve. And according to CEC member guide, which I think I talked through with Anthony, but Anthony, please correct me if I'm wrong on this. Minutes don't require a vote. Council members instead are given an opportunity to request any last-minute corrections, at which point the chair will indicate that the minutes are approved as distributed. Anthony, is that correct? Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Great.
However, if any a motion has to be made if they're making any changes.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So we have minutes linked in the agenda from November 19th, December 10th, January 7th, January 28th, and February 11th. Does anyone have any corrections that they would like to make for any of these sets of meeting minutes? Great. In that case, the minutes are approved as distributed, and we will, Shanice, are you able to get those posted to the website then after this? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Amazing. That's such a good batch of minutes to be able to share with the community. The next thing will require a little bit more of a discussion, although it's still a bit loose. So this is a discussion and vote on the proposed budget for 2025-2026. With the budget, so the way that we do this is we put forward a budget resolution that lays out the rough parameters of how we hope to spend, how we intend to spend our money over the upcoming year. Let me make sure this is, I haven't been opening things up to on the Google Docs. Here we go. So this is the draft budget resolution that we have in place. Shanice and Jonathan and I worked on this together based on our expenditures over the previous year and what we know about the year ahead. So we are proposing $5,000 that will go onto the procurement card. 5,000 is the most that we can put on the card. And this is the main way that, oh, thanks, Shanice, that's helpful. This is the main way that Shanice tends to spend funds when she's buying something for, you know, food for a meeting, things like that. That all comes from the P card. $97.50 for members reimbursements and meeting expenses. That's always the bulk of our annual budget. $3,500 for technology. The biggest thing that we know we're going to need in the upcoming year is a new office printer. $1,000 for office supplies, $500 for the AA's travel expenses. But what we wanted to do, Shanice doesn't always spend the funds that we've allocated for travel. And so we wanted to roll in the possibility for using those funds for professional development. I think that that would be great. We as a council, it's a funny position. Like technically the AA reports to the president for each council, but like I'm a volunteer, right? And so someone who would be in a full-time position doing this type of work would ordinarily have a dedicated supervisor who is helping to support their professional growth and development. And so having a little bit of funds set aside for professional development, whether that's courses or something else, seems worthwhile to me. Hopefully to you all too. $250 for communication apps and templates. This is for things like, our website hosting and newsletter fees and Zoom membership. Do we pay for Zoom? That might be through the district, but those types of things. And then $3,500 for district-wide family and student events. So we as a council cannot pay for an event at a particular school, but if the district is hosting something, we can help to support that event. This has been really useful over the past year or so, like there was the summer, was it summer? It was the June field day that the district put on this past June. Our council was able to help with that. I think some of the money in the district-wide, Shanice can correct me, but some of the money in the district-wide funds, does that also go to our annual legislative breakfast, Shanice, or does that come from a different spot?
No, that's from our meeting expenses line for the legislative breakfast. Yeah.
Oh, got it. That's from our meeting expenses line.
Mhm. Yeah.
So this is just purely district-wide events, and then $1,500 for events that we as a CEC are specifically putting on, as opposed to events that the district is hosting that we're then supporting. This is likely going to change over the course of the year. So by voting on a draft budget now, this sets the process in motion so that we as a council can access these funds. We go into this knowing that, 3 or 4 months from now, we may realize that we don't need as much money in technology, and instead we'd like to allocate that somewhere else. We can do that by drafting a budget amendment and putting it forward as a resolution. So this isn't something that we have to feel completely stuck to for the entire year, but it does give us some guideposts. The one other thing that I wanted to mention on this, and I have this as a comment in the document, but one thing that has been an ongoing challenge is that there's always a lot of expenses that come up at the very end of the fiscal year, like May, June, and it's just really tough to get those processed through all of the district mechanisms in time for it to come out of that year's budget. And so last year, I know that this was the case. This year, it's the case again, that we have some funds that we spent in the previous council term, but the money is going to end up coming out of this year's budget. This year, the totals for those are 1,700 in outstanding invoices and 1,900 in outstanding reimbursements. I think that a good way forward with this is to, and Anthony, you can tell me if this is like not an appropriate way to think about this, but it seems logical to me that each year we're going to be covering a little bit of the prior year's expenses. And so as we build the budget for this year, I think we may go into this year knowing that those last reimbursements that come in, you know, at the bitter end, those are going to end up coming likely out of next year's budget. And so even though the money that's carried over, the expenses that are carrying over from last year do make a dent in this year's budget, I think that we will recoup it on the other side and have like a rhythm that actually works a bit better for the council.
So I do have something to say.
Uh-oh.
Anything that is rolled over from last year has to be voted on by the new council. It doesn't automatically get approved to be paid for with the new budget.
Yeah.
And one thing I was just looking at when I was looking this over is I don't think 9,750 is going to be enough for reimbursements. Because each member they can get reimbursed up to 125, and then you as the president can get up to 200, and that's about 18,900.
Okay.
So is that the 9,750, was that based on previous years?
Yeah.
So,
Historically, not all of the funds that people are entitled to request as reimbursement have been requested. And so while the amount that Anthony is mentioning is the max,
we may
yes,
not need it.
so far we haven't seen that all get used.
You don't have to claim reimbursements. It's up to the council member if they want to. I know one of my other councils, they forego all their reimbursements and try to put back more into the districts, which gives them more money to play around with to do events and things of that nature.
Right.
So it's just up to what the council wants to do for individual.
I just did some quick math, and if people did just the $75 they're allotted for phone and internet, and they did that for the 12 months and all 12 members, which we don't even have 12 right now, but all 12 members did it, it would be 10,800 for the year. So it'd be close to the 9,750.
I feel pretty comfortable with that as a starting point based on the balance of like potential and historic use. But we can also, so one thing I want to mention about reimbursements is, and I've been guilty of this too, but it's really common for people to wait and hold all their reimbursements until the very end of the year. And it makes it very hard to estimate how the council is doing budget-wise until like May. And so if folks can get in a good habit of submitting your reimbursements monthly, then we'll have a much clearer sense of like, oh, you know, this person is regularly going to need childcare, and we need to make sure that there's like enough in the budget for that to be accounted for. Whereas this person like typically doesn't, you know, and just knowing like the makeup of this particular council and what people are needing to tap into will help us to have a sense of like whether we need to beef that up or if it's okay as it is.
I have another Maybe
I
something
agree
that
with
can
that.
be done is the folders that you get each meeting, the reimbursement form should be there already and should be being filled out as the meeting is going along or at the end of the meeting and then submitted right then and there. It just makes sure that it's happening at every meeting and we don't have a backlog that may not get processed at the end.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, we could
Yeah.
also, we have digital copies of them that is easier for some people. So maybe that could be something that's sent out to the council the week before to fill out for before the calendar meeting. And then for those that prefer hard copies, it could be in the folder to do that. So you could kind of tackle it both ways.
So is there someone that like collects the form and checks off who's given the form in for that month?
Yeah, so that is shared across Shanice and the president and treasurer. Forms always have to go through Shanice 100% of the time for
Mhm.
processing, and either the president or the treasurer can also sign off on them. Signing off also includes verifying that, you know, that somebody attended a meeting that month or did some other work for the council. Obviously, you can't request reimbursements for a month if you
Weren't
didn't
there, right?
didn't do any council
No,
work.
but I'm just thinking in terms of accountability, if you know, oh, I have to hand it over to Angelica at the end of the meeting or 24 hours after the meeting, then Angelica may be knocking on my door. I say, where's your form? You know?
Yeah, we can set up one of those.
It'll help because I mean, maybe I'm not submitting a form this month and Angelica knows I'm not submitting a form this month. It's not going to be like, oh, I forgot. And then in May, I'm giving in a form. So that'll help us navigate the budget issue before it, you know, becomes
Yeah.
a problem at the end of the year.
That's a good idea. Yeah, Angelica?
The 125 is how often?
Per month.
Per month.
So yeah, the breakdown of it is, well, it can be broken down, you know, however, but there are certain maximums within that overall monthly maximum. You can request up to $75 per month for like phone and internet use, which everybody is entitled to, regardless of whether you use it or not. I mean, you have to do work for the council, but childcare, we know that childcare costs really vary. And so it may be that you're using that entire $125 towards childcare and not claiming internet expenses or whatever. And then, you know, other direct expenses obviously are included within that as well. So there might be like, there was a month when I needed to take a car to get to and from a meeting for some reason. And so then that reduces the amount you can claim in other areas if you have other, like, you know, if you are taking public transit, then you have more available to claim back on childcare and internet. Whereas if you are in a rush to get there from work and have to take a car or whatever, then you can do that. But you know, it all feeds into the maximum.
And you do not need receipts for the phone and internet. And you don't need receipts for childcare, but you do need receipts if you take a car or transportation. And there are two different forms that you're filling out also that need to be filled out monthly. And I got in trouble because I tried to claim multiple months all on one form, but you need those two forms to be filled out each month. Even if you're filling them out for the same exact thing, you need two forms for every single month to be filled out to get reimbursed.
And we'll share those with everybody after the meeting, trying to balance information and overall.
And if a member wanted to forego their expenses, is this the meeting where we could talk about that, or should we talk about that another time?
I think we could talk about it. I mean, I think so. Jonathan, you can maybe chime in on what your experience has been. It seemed to me last year that there was not an intentional discussion that I recall about whether folks wanted to claim back their reimbursements or not. It seemed to be a bit more ad hoc, that some folks just never did, and some folks consistently did, and that it was more of an individual decision than a council decision. Is that what you've seen as well, Jonathan?
Yeah, there was never an explicit discussion. And I think that is something that we definitely could do as a council. It's good to know. I think Katina pointed out, well, we just never knew how much money we had to work with.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people didn't submit for anything, or some would submit everything at the end of the year and it would be a couple $1,000s. Someone would submit for some things and not others. And it's everybody's right. And somebody made a great point as well, that like if you're unsure if you want to submit for reimbursement, you could do that and then use that money to pour back into the district as well, personal. So you could, for instance, submit your reimbursements and then take the money that you get for your reimbursements for the phone, internet, or childcare, and then take that check and then give it to your school's PA or PTA or other ways to give back to the district. So that's something that was raised as well.
I just feel like it's an individual decision. I don't think that we need to have like explicit conversations about it. I feel like if we put in that kind of accountability factor where at the end of the month you're giving your reimbursement, and Angelica, sorry if I'm giving you something to do, but then Angelica says, hey, you didn't submit your reimbursement this month. Are you going to? And then that's the only person that would know if you did or didn't. It doesn't have to be everybody knows, it doesn't know, right? In addition, they cannot and just say, hey, roll mine over into the budget, and then we'll know that they're not going to, or that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that like folks are in different financial situations too, and so like that, it makes sense to me for that to be individual. One thing we could also do or try is that folks could send an estimate of like how much do you think you're gonna need or want to claim back. And some folks may know at the outset that they really don't plan to, and others may plan to, be using the full amount each month, and that could give us a sense of an estimate. But yeah, maybe seeing sort of how things are falling once we're like 3 months in and people have had a chance to go to a few meetings and see what they need.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to ask is about mid-year. Like, do we have like these conversations about how much do we have mid-year, 5, 6 months in, or whatever the midpoint is, as well as I wanted to bring up the 1,700 that was expenses that were not for reimbursement. Do we know what that was for? And if we can consider spending that earlier?
Yeah, Shanice, do you recall what the 1,700 was for? Were those were meeting expenses that just came late in the year?
So I was trying to unmute.
That's okay.
So one bulk is for member reimbursements that were submitted late in the year that I wasn't able to process. And then another is from invoices from a few district-wide events where we purchase food. So yeah, that's what those are for. And we need to create a line in the budget for each thing that the money is dedicated to and vote on it. So I just wanted to let you know that, Katina, as well. So the totals that I sent you, they need to be included in this resolution too. Process.
Got it. Okay. So that needs to be whether or not we want to fund those prior expenses needs to be included in this resolution. And yeah, to answer your other question, Kim, we definitely do talk about it each month, kind of where we're at and how much is remaining. I would say, and Shanice, you can tell me if this is accurate, but we tend to give money back to the district at the end of the year, and we can't hold money over from one year to the next. So if there's money left in our budget at the end of the year, it goes back to the district.
Yeah, I was gonna say that historically, it's always been upwards of $6,000 given back, so there's money to move around. Mhm.
Can I ask a question? Do we know what, when you say give it back to the district, what happens with those funds that are, you know, allocated to our to D15 for our operations once they're given back to the district? Do we have a sense of what happens?
I think we have absolutely no visibility, and it just
No
goes
idea.
general, you know, it's
Okay.
presumably
Unless-
we're good, but yeah, we
Yeah.
don't knowing.
And just so you know, it doesn't go directly to the district as in terms of me. It will go back to whatever the allocation is for the district as
Family.
public schools. So it goes all back to New York City Public Schools, and they'll redistribute those funds however they can to the system for whatever they decide.
I see.
Oh, so it doesn't go to District
It
15.
doesn't come to us. So
It goes back to DOE.
the
Okay.
allocation of the funding for CEC 15 does not come to District 15. So I would never see a cent of whatever you leave over. The only time we ever see anything is when you guys allocate funding for something that you want us to use. So like we've had events before, so you guys might pay for the events, but Shanice actually creates the purchase order for any of the items that we might need from the vendors. Through her, we might get the what do we call it? The like if is bids or something that we ordered, like shirts or something like that for an event, that we would get the bids for Shanice, and then Shanice would process that, but nothing ever comes directly to the district at all. If you allocate funding towards the district, we still won't get it. Shanice still has to process it from her end.
Okay.
Got it.
Angelica, did you have something?
I just want to see if I'm understanding correctly that typically there are $6,000 left over, but last year we went over by over 3,000. Is that what?
No.
No. What were
We-
the 1,900 and 1,700?
So yeah, it's tricky. Like we didn't overspend. We just weren't able to get those funds processed in time for the end of the fiscal year. So the sorry, not the district.
DOE.
The BOE absorbed the funds that were not spent, but we're still needing to cover those expenditures out of this year's budget. But again, like that happened last year too. We had a similar amount of money that needed to be paid out of the 2024-2025 budget, even though it had been spent in 23-24. And so the same thing happened. Like we had money that went back to the DOE at the end of 23-24, had to dip into the 24-25 budget in order to cover those last expenses that just couldn't get paid in time. Like everything just, you know, it takes forever. Anybody who's worked for the city or CUNY or like systems like that, like it just takes a very long time.
Just from my experience, the only way to avoid that is to, because you can't put in for payment until the actual event.
Right.
So if the event is and their deadline was the 32nd of, you know, the 22nd of May, you're kind of screwed. So a lot of times there's not a way to avoid it. DOE has these funny deadlines that they just, I used to say they make them up, but you still got to follow.
Yeah, exactly. And some of that stuff is just outside of our control as far as, you know,
Right.
when certain things happen. So, yeah. So I don't know, I guess, how do folks feel about this as a starting point, knowing that we can go back and revisit? We also don't have to vote on it today, and we don't have to vote on the processing of the prior expenses today if folks are uncomfortable with that piece of it. Yeah, Jonathan?
I was just wondering if it would make sense to potentially, sorry, I'm looking at the numbers here again, maybe take $500 from the technology line and add it to Shanice's line for professional development. So I feel like professional developments can cost more money. So $500 doesn't seem like a significant amount, and I wouldn't want to limit what Shanice could potentially have access to. So I just wanted to put that out there.
If you guys may, can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
In our office, we have a copy machine that the district has to pay for. It doesn't make a lot of copies. The copies are right in the area where Shanice sits. So she can have access directly to that so long as we put her code in there so that she's able to make copies. And that way you guys can save $1,000 on whatever else you want to use as expensive for events or whatever else you deem. I think it's just a waste to use that when we share the same office.
Does that work for you, Shanice? Amazing.
It's the
Thank
copy
you.
machine that also gives access to scan, so you could also scan on. It's the one that's the black copy machine in the main area.
Beautiful. That's great. Yeah. So what if
Thank
we?
you. I'm sorry. Thank you so much, Superintendent.
On Monday, just remind me, and then we'll have somebody from DIIT put your information in there so you have access.
Okay.
That's great. So we may not have significant technology needs if that is the case.
Well,
So, yeah,
printer, okay.
right.
Well, also we like to print in color, and I know that copy machine is in
Yeah,
color.
I
so-
can connect you to mine.
Oh, okay.
You really don't do I don't really ever see you making a lot of copies. It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
I mean, I get wasted sheets of paper printed for no reason. So like it's you can use the office one.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Just make sure I get you connected to those.
Okay.
So if we,
Sorry.
sorry, go.
One question. Going back to our reimbursements, and I totally understand that it not wanting to go over like who won't spend theirs while we're on a call. Are we like if I put together an anonymous doc for us to say I don't plan on asking for reimbursements so that we can kind of have a total, because I have ideas of like events and things for maybe fundraising or something. I'd really like to know how much we have going in. So if that's more private and people are more comfortable that way, I can do that.
I think that sounds good. I
I'm
would
a
be
little
Mhm.
I'm a little hesitant about that. I don't know.
Also, I'm
So-
sorry, Kim.
Go ahead.
The budget has to be locked in by late February, early March. So no more changes to the budget after that.
Right. So suppose somebody's situation changes and they really need the childcare after they said, I don't need the childcare, you know? Every personal situations can change. It's New York City. You never know. So yeah, I'm comfortable with the fact that this estimation of reimbursement is half of what we really need. So given that if half people say I don't need it, then we're not stuck, you know? But I think it's a good place to start. I would feel comfortable approving that.
And for, I'm sorry, Angelica, for the events that you do want to have, we need to make sure that the DOE vendors so they can be paid if they are, if there is a cost. It's a whole lot of parameters away around how we can spend money. Okay, so and as we go along, they'll pop up and then it'll be like we can't even do it. We can't even do this. So it made no sense to, move the money. Just letting you know.
No, yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. I think I just have been brainstorming a bit, but I know that there's a lot to learn before anything goes in to the works.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Generally, similar parameters that you would have in a PAPTA are kind of generally what will be able to be for a CEC. There are some discrepancies with it, but for the most part, generally what you would have done with a PAPTA, you can do with your allocation of your funding.
You think Superintendent, I find it to be more restrictive.
It is
Yeah, I
more
mean,
restrictive because it's not directly to the school's impact directly, and CEC are members, so. But you can, for example, if you wanted to pay for a workshop for parents in the district, that's something that you'd probably be able to do. Oftentimes, the workaround through that is that you're allocating funding to the district to run an event, but the event is really yours, right? Because then that allows for less restrictive because the district can do the events in many different ways that meets the needs of the CEC, which is why when you heard Anthony speaking earlier, Anthony talked about how some districts just allocate most of the funding to the district because it's easier for the district to be able to manage the codes under parental codes that go in for the reimbursements. So it's a lot easier, which is why a lot of districts just do partnership with the CEC. What would you like to host? Okay, this is a partnership between D15 and CEC 15, and we're doing it together. It makes it a lot easier because we know how to go around certain things when it comes to codes. I think that's why Anthony was suggesting earlier that it's easier where some districts just allocate most of it to the district, and then the district works with the CEC to figure out what to do with it so that it meets the CEC's needs. And that way it kind of takes a little bit of the responsibility off the CEC to actually manage it, if that makes any sense. But it's being managed on behalf of the CEC, if that makes sense. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah,
with
no.
District 7, they would just allocate the stuff to us, and then they would say these are the things that they want done, and then we would go about making sure that they get done. Give me
Yeah.
one.
No, I was just agreeing with that. And on that note, I would like to know that at some point we're going to focus on what family events we're doing, as well as what professional, well, I won't call it professional development, but workshops and learnings we're doing for parents, and how we get them out using these funds. So I think we have about $5,000, whether it's district-wide or just CEC,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. So I have a question, I guess, for Anthony. So if we don't approve a budget resolution today, we can't access the budget yet, right? Like we can't spend any money until a budget resolution is approved. Is that accurate?
correct.
Okay. So I'm just being mindful of time, and I feel like two things are true right now. One is that it would be very useful to pass a budget resolution so that we can start accessing those funds for meeting expenses and things that are office needs. And at the same time, I think there's more discussions that we need to have about what are some of the more substantive things that we would like to do as a council that will tap into these funds. And it sounds like folks have some interesting ideas percolating already on what we might do. And depending on what those end up looking like, there may be some reallocations that need to happen. I might propose that we go ahead and vote on an initial budget resolution as it is here, or we can make some last tweaks if people want, knowing that next month we'll revisit it with a little bit more information in hand, and we'll continue to refine it as we go. How does
I second the motion to vote.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and that doesn't mean that discussion is finished, obviously. I mean, I think this is very clearly something that needs more conversation. But this sort of will give us, if we vote to approve this now, then it'll give us some space to start working within. This is a roll call vote, right? Yes. Okay, so just so that folks know what I have done in here based on the conversation, I reduced the technology line by 1,000 because we won't need, we hopefully won't need that new printer. And I put 500 of that into professional development for Shanice and 500 into member reimbursement. For the time being, again, those can go, we can move funds wherever we need to. And I added a clause indicating the amounts from the prior year budget that are being covered under the current year's the prior year's expenditures that are being covered under the current year's budget.
So first you have to do a vote for those prior year things
Separately? Okay.
separately, and then the budget overall.
Yeah, Angelica?
Thanks. So sorry, before we did the roll call, I just wanted to clarify the motion itself. So the motion as it stands is to approve the budget as is, right? With the understanding that we will revisit in a future meeting and potentially make adjustments after further discussion.
Correct.
Okay.
Just
The motion
for-
actually doesn't stand anymore because we have to vote on something else first, right?
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, can we vote on that? Because then we're gonna have to make a motion to vote on the budget.
Got it.
Adding 2 lines that state one's for reimbursements for last year and one's for that 17,000 from invoices.
Okay.
Quick question and a hypothetical where if we did not vote to pass funding these, what happens with those costs?
Good question.
So the invoice ones automatically have to get covered because you have to pay your vendors. The reimbursement doesn't though. So those people who their reimbursements weren't submitted, they would unfortunately not get paid because there was a deadline that I advised before that they should submit it and it wasn't submitted in time, so it wasn't processed.
Yeah, which I think is fair. Either way that folks decide to go, I think is fair. But we still need to vote on the outstanding invoices, even though we have to pay them, obviously. Okay.
Do we need to factor that into the budget and subtract those amounts from what we had allocated to other areas?
Yeah, so I guess mentally I was like rolling those under, but I need to not do that. Like rolling the member reimbursements, 1,900 of this member of the 10,000 is actually covering last year.
I believe it can go through there. Because I believe it still can come through that budget line because it's still member reimbursement.
Okay.
Okay. And the
And then-
invoices could still come from the event line, this line.
Yeah.
If I could just make a comment about the deadline issue, and I think Anthony made a good point. I feel like it would be fair to say, hey, you missed the deadline, so you're not going to get paid if we say that all year or beginning with this council, we just say best practice every month, give it in. If you don't, and if you especially miss the deadline given, you will not get reimbursed for your time the prior year, But if that wasn't said, I don't think it's fair for anybody to feel like they gave in their paperwork and didn't get reimbursed. So
I also would like some clarification. The 1,700 are because reimbursements were submitted after the deadline?
Or too close to the deadline to be processed in time.
So some of them may have been before the
So
deadline.
the 1,900 is in members' reimbursements. That's not submitted due to lack of information and slow processing, as well as the invoices due to lack of information and slow processing. Like it's a lot. So yeah, that's what that is. So not necessarily that it wasn't submitted by the deadline, but the information, everything wasn't submitted.
So someone might have submitted something, but it was incomplete. And by the time Shanice was able to get follow-up information from them, it was to get it into the system. So
system that we put the reimbursements and the invoices slows down at the end of the year because everybody's trying to process their reimbursements and their invoices at the same time. Therefore, it causes a lot of lag, which causes more time to process this information. So therefore, you can come to a point where you can't submit anything because the deadline and because of the slow turnaround time with the system.
And I feel like because I was at a meeting in October, I feel like this has come up before where someone wanted to be reimbursed and they weren't being, so this has happened.
Yeah, but everything has gotten sorted out eventually. It sometimes just takes, it takes a while. So, yeah. So I'm gonna move to vote on, I'm gonna move to vote that, how do I frame the vote? I'm gonna move to vote on whether to approve the expenses from the 24-25 fiscal year to be covered under the 25-26 budget. And a yes vote would indicate, yes, you're comfortable with that money coming from this year's budget. A no vote would indicate no, you can also abstain. Does anyone second that motion?
Second.
All right, so it's a roll call vote. And again, like how you vote is it's totally fine. I feel like these are, obviously we have to pay the 1,700 in invoices, but the reimbursements are a different case. So Councilmember Angelica Cesario?
I'm gonna vote yes, since the invoices need to be paid, and with the understanding that some of these members maybe did submit in time and there was slow processing. So for that reason, I vote yes.
Okay. Councilmember Jonathan Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Alton Dodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Ken Eby?
I vote yes.
Councilmember Angelica Jadanandan?
Yes.
Councilmember Katina Rogers, I'm going to vote yes as well. Councilmember Kim Wanless?
Yes.
Councilmember Chingsha Zhu?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you. And Councilmember Kara Zwirling?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. I do think that this will end up kind of evening itself out, but it's like a really weird thing to have to vote on when you've just stepped into the role. I felt it last year too. So I get that was like a sticky place to start. But with that approved, I would then like to go back to my initial motion. I'd like to move that we vote to approve the 25-26 budget resolution as written, with the understanding that we will revisit it at a future meeting once we develop our priorities in more depth.
I second.
All right, so this is a roll call vote as well. Councilmember Angelica Cesario?
Yes.
Councilmember Jonathan?
Yes.
Councilmember Alton Dodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Ken Eby?
Yes.
Councilmember Angelica Jadanandan?
Yes.
Councilmember Katina Rogers, yes. Councilmember Kim Wanless?
Yes.
Councilmember Chingsha Zhu?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. And Councilmember Kara Zwirling?
Yes.
Great, thank you all so much. This is really helpful as far as being able to get the year started. So it's 9 o'clock and I want to be really mindful of that. So I'm going to propose that we not vote on the remaining items that are on the agenda, but instead just look at them briefly, and then we can all review them on our own before the next meeting and bring them to a vote at our August meeting. Does that sound just okay? Kind of a general thumbs up?
You have to make a motion to table.
Oh, I have to make a motion to table. Okay. I move to table the remaining votes on the agenda for today. Angelica Cesario, I saw you raise your hand. Are you seconding? Or you have a
Sorry,
question?
no, I had a question first.
Yeah.
I know one of the budget items is voting on the calendar. So does that impact the August date then?
I think we should look at the August date and make sure that that's a go for everybody, but then talk about like the whole year calendar next time. Does that
Okay.
work?
Yeah, or I was gonna say, I don't know if it's possible to kind of parse out the August date and approve that one. Or
Hmm.
I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever
Do
you
we,
think is
do
best.
we approve the
I think that
specific?
would be good.
Your
Sorry.
bylaws state when your meetings take place. So as of right now, one of your meetings are on the second Tuesday of the month and the last Tuesday of the month. So no matter what, they're on that date, unless there's a state of emergency, school closing, holiday, something of that nature. And that those dates that can be moved around have to be voted on.
So I think we do need to vote on August because August is unique and doesn't fall within what Anthony just said.
Gotcha.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. And then I will just say about the rest of the calendar, I tried to build this out according to those bylaw stipulations, working around like, you know, the days off, that kind of thing. So there's some months that just tend to get really sticky, like November, just, you know, like there are months where there are a lot of unusual school calendar questions, can get a little bit complicated, but we can look at the year as a whole. It would be helpful if folks could maybe look at your own calendars and just see if there's anything that stands out to you as a problem when you're looking at these holidays that I overlooked when I was trying to sync it with the school calendar, anything like that. But in the meantime, I guess I move that we vote on the August meeting, holding a joint calendar and business meeting on Tuesday, August 19th.
Second.
Thank you. Who was it who seconded? I didn't hear it, sorry.
I did, and someone else. So.
All right. And so again, at these meetings, because our council only has 9 people, everyone's participation is really important. We can't conduct any business if we don't have at least 7. So while we understand that things come up, once these are set, like please do try to prioritize them to the degree that we all are able to do so. All right, so do we need to do this as a roll call vote or?
Can I make one comment on that? If there's, so I am scheduled to be out of town that week. I can drive home if I need to. If people are available the next week, I am actually home that week. That would be like much better for me, but I don't know if that's.
If we have 7 people, based on our new bylaws, if we have 7 people who definitely can be there in person, the other 2 members can join remotely and be voting members.
Oh,
But
really?
we need a quorum of people in person to activate the hybrid resolution where members can vote remotely.
So when was that?
Anthony?
So that hybrid option is used for special circumstances. You can't just use it because I don't want to come in today. It has to be because I'm sick, because I don't have childcare, because things of that nature. It can't just be like, oh, I just don't want to show up.
Yeah. Exactly. Sorry,
And
I
that
didn't mean
was
to say like don't. Yeah. But if you're out of town and you can't, you know, there's no way you're on a trip and you can't come in, that would qualify as well.
Yeah, don't change travel plans around a meeting that hasn't been scheduled yet. That's like, I feel like that's not reasonable. So let's see. Jonathan, can you help me? I'm running out of brain power. How do we do
Yeah,
this?
can we, I mean, is it okay to do just kind of a quick check with everybody to see who will actually be in town and can definitely be there on the 19th? Can people just raise their hands so we can count how many people can definitely be there on the 19th? So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think we have, it looks like it's everybody but Kara.
Yeah. So let's stick with that. That puts us on kind of a better rhythm since it's a bit more mid-month, and then we'll start having 2 meetings a month in September. And Kara, if you're able to join virtually, great. If not,
We'll catch you up.
travel plans, it's summer, we get it. So, all right, so do we need to then vote? I move to vote that we hold our next meeting August 19th and that it be a joint calendar and business meeting.
I second that.
Thanks, Kim. Do we have to go name by name, Anthony, or can this just be a?
Yes.
Good grief, okay. All right, Councilmember Angelica Cesario.
Yes.
Let me stop saying council members too much. Jonathan Davis,
Yes.
Alton Dodson,
Yes.
Ken Eby,
Yes.
Angelica Jarinandan,
Yes.
Katina Rogers, yes. Kim Wanlis,
Yes.
Ching Sao Shu,
She said yes.
perfect, thank you. And Kara Zwirling,
Yes.
great. Thanks, everybody. So then please take a look at these other dates and maybe even just in this document, if you know you can't be at one of these meetings, you could make a note in the notes column. And that way, if we see that there's a day that just everybody's going to be gone, we can look at shifting something. The other thing that was on our agenda for today was a discussion of liaison schools, which I thought we might not get time to actually talk through. So each council member typically works with like 3 to 4 schools in the district. And it's hoped that you can meet with the principal of each school at least once to hear from them about some of the things that their school is concerned with this year. Sorry, Jonathan, go ahead.
Oh, that wasn't to interrupt. It was more for me to just ask some questions when you're done. So go ahead
Okay.
and finish. Yeah.
One of the things that we are charged with doing as a CEC is putting together a priority list for the school construction authority for the things, the high level construction needs and requests that are happening in our school district. Now, whether the SCA does anything useful with these requests is debatable, but it still serves as an important moment for us to connect with the principals at the schools, to hear what's going on and to know where are the areas that we need to be pushing if there's major ADA concerns, accessibility and disability concerns, if there's ventilation concerns. These are things that we can help advocate for. So you cannot be a liaison for a school where your child attends or where you have another significant point of connection. Like, I guess you can't be working in a school anyway, but so like my kids are at PS10 and MS88, so I can't be a liaison for those schools. And Jonathan and I had talked about each of us having under our kind of portfolio of schools, one of the D75 schools that's within the District 15 network, to make sure that those D75 schools are well represented and not just by a single person. So you can be thinking about like what schools you might like to represent. I added a link in the agenda, which I probably need to share. Oh no, it's shared. Right now, I just have my and Jonathan's names on here in the schools that we represented last year, but there's nothing that says we have to continue representing those schools.
Do you mind if I add just a couple of things?
Please.
Is that okay? So in addition to communicating with the principals, if possible, it's also really helpful to communicate with the parent coordinators, the SLTs, and the PTA, PA presidents or co-presidents. So if you're doing a building walkthrough, which you should try to do, ideally twice a year, but at minimum, try to do it once in a year, to do it with all of those stakeholders to get their different perspectives on the needs of the school. I know it's really hard scheduling wise to make it happen, but if you could try to attend one, sorry for the screaming of my kids in the background. try to attend like one of the SLT meetings or a PTA or PA meeting. It's just a good way to make sure that you're hearing the needs of the different schools. So I just wanted to add that. And then the last question was actually for Anthony, in that we really tried to divvy up the schools across all the members last year, but we, as Katrina mentioned, we're 3 members short currently. And so when we look to divvy up the schools in our next meeting, how do we factor, we don't want any schools to be left out, but if we don't have our borough president appointees or our District 75 member by that next meeting, should we have members take on an extra school that they will then hand off to the members when they come? Like, what's the best approach for that?
Yeah, that's a fine way to do it. Because I don't know, quite frankly, if anybody applied for BP appointed yet. I haven't heard anything. So yes, I would think that's the best way, just in case, so they have somebody for now, and then knowing that this school will fall off when the new people come and they will get voted into one of those schools. To take those schools, yeah. That's fine.
Great.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm just relocating. So just be looking over that list and be thinking about, schools that are reasonable for you to access, that you'd be able to get to. And if there's schools that you have a particular interest in representing, like Chingsa and I have talked about her representing schools that have many Mandarin speakers, because that can be a valuable point of connection with the community. So I'm gonna motion that we table the remainder of the agenda for next time and that we reconvene on August 19th. Does anyone want to second that?
Second.
Thanks, Ken. All right, then with apologies for that, like end of meeting feeling a bit abrupt. I think that this has been a really great first session. I think we're well set up to start our year. I'm sorry that the meeting went a little bit longer than we had hoped, but I'm glad that we were able to get through all of the business that we needed to. And I guess I'll motion to adjourn unless anyone has other stuff you need to bring up before we go.
Second.
Okay. All votes in favor of adjourning, maybe just raise your hand. Awesome. All right. Thank you all so much. I feel like there's a lot of like push and pull and experimentation that's going to happen as we find our way at the council. But I appreciate the conversation we've had so far, and hope everyone has a great continuation of your summer. And I will look forward to actually seeing you in person, barring any other weather disasters, on August 19th. And that'll be at 131 Livingston again. All right.
Thank you, Katrina.
Thank you,
Thank you,
President
everybody.
Rogers.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Madam Press. Take care.
Take care, everyone. Thank you. Interpreters, thank you so much for your work. I know this was long. Appreciate it.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Good night. Pleasure.
Katina, you did great.
Oh, thanks, Janice.
Yeah.
I had high hopes for ending earlier, but we got there.
Yeah, you did. You troubleshooted. You did great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the encouragement. Yeah, I think so far so good. So we'll chat about follow-ups and then
You're a pro. I'm so proud. I'm so happy. Okay. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. All right. Good night, Chika.
Good
Bye,
night.
Shanice.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.
Bye.